Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard. I have Frederick Taylor with me again.
And I'm here live once again, too.
We've never recorded one remote.
I don't think so.
No. We only did a Q&A remote before
true.
Before we knew each other.
But that's not the same.
It's not the same. It's very different now.
Yes.
But shall I introduce you as the... What's the best introduction?
Award-winning filmmaker.
Award-winning filmmaker.
Social justice warrior.
Public intellectual.
I'll take it.
And producer, runner of a production company.
Yes, that's my day job. that's my Clark Kent job, basically.
But by the way, your Clark Kent job is a job that many others seek and can't attain. So
ironic, don't you think?
It's not like, I clean toilets at Starbucks to afford to run a podcast.
And remarkably well, too.
Oh, those are the cleanest. Come to the Sherman Oaks Starbucks. I can promise you. Clean bathroom.
Bacteria-free.
So,
which matters in this day and age as well.
Well, as a germaphobe, you can imagine how I feel about this.
I can only imagine that for you. That's
perfect job. Germaphobes always joke about cleaning bathrooms. I mean, that's just, But if you wear a mask and gloves, and
you're pretty safe.
3 masks and a gas
3
mask.
gloves
and a condom. Always a condom. All right. So we were joking before, right when I hit record, we were joking that you're here to wear me down. You're here to. I am to be broken. Politically, about politics.
Exactly.
Not as friends. No. Not as you're not going to insult my humanity, who I am.
Right. Which I respect.
I appreciate that. But we are talking on what is it? July 1st.
It is July 1st. Halfway through the calendar year of 2024.
Which puts us about 4 months and 2 weeks away from an election. And that's the part that we're concerned
Essentially the end of the world, possibly. This might be it. This might be our last broadcast.
No, because we can do it from Vancouver.
That's true. We both will have stakes in Vancouver.
I mean, I fly to Vancouver Wednesday. Day after tomorrow. Yeah. And, I'm going to watch the news. I might not come back.
I wouldn't come back.
My best friend, Sujay, who I don't think listens to these, he has a basement. They have a basement.
You can furnish it.
We can just move into that basement and apply for asylum.
Hilarious.
Is that the right term?
I think so, because all the characters on The Handmaid's Tale, they all, fled and applied for asylum in Canada.
There you go.
It's one of the subplots of that series.
So where do we start? We're obviously, the debate has tinged our universe, right?
Yeah, tinged like we sat in a tanning bed too long. We're just sort of we're a little burnt. We don't feel good about it. I liken it to Game 1 of the World Series, and we got blown out Game 1. And
we were saying to ourselves, well, our star pitcher who had elbow surgery is going to be ready. He's going to be ready. And then the manager is like, I'm putting him in. And we're like, okay, that means he might be ready. And we were trying to convince ourselves he could throw.
Right.
And then the ball didn't make it to the plate.
No, it was rocked for 4 runs in the first inning, and he's walked 3 guys. And
remember when George Bush threw out the first pitch of the World Series, and the ball hit the ground halfway between him and the batter? It was hilarious. But yeah, it was like that. It was just completely. Although admittedly, I watched 90 seconds and stopped because that's what my heart could handle.
I love that about you. I love the biochemical responses that you have to things when it's too much.
I threw it on and I saw Mr. Trump give an answer, and I was aware of how inaccurate everything he said was, but I knew that's his game. And then when Mr. Biden responded, I was like, I literally reached for the remote as fast as I could, and I was like,
I'd like to, and
even his eyes looked glazed over in a way, and maybe it was the cold. I don't care.
I heard he had a cold, and he's an 86-year-old person or an 80-something-year-old person with a cold, 82-year-old person with a cold. And so people at 82, a cold sound like death, warmed over. So I get it. So I'm saying that, that was game one, and we got blown out. So there's game two that's coming up. So we'll see. I don't think it's over, but he sounded over. But I'm not sounding any alarms yet.
Well, I think a point I'm going to quote Ezra Klein, actually. I'm going to paraphrase Ezra Klein, whose podcast I listen to now and then, which is maybe the job of president is something that he can do where you're basically, it's about who you put where.
Absolutely.
He has a great cabinet.
Absolutely.
In fact, he has one of the youngest cabinets in history, this, that.
Right.
But campaigning is a different ball game. And just to say, not physically able to and mentally able to campaign anymore, but would still be a good president, ain't going to get that tiny sliver in the middle that might not have their minds made up. Or worse, people will stay home. Yeah, turnout too.
Well, I think it's unfortunate for anybody that's going to stay home because, if anything, this should get them to rally themselves. But then if they want to stay home and things don't go their way, they're going to have to be prepared for a tremendous amount of disappointment. And I think the first step in that direction is what happened today, July 1st, 2024, where these wingnuts on the Supreme Court have decided to give a president, any president, immunity. That's absolutely crazy.
It is. These are attorneys, law school professors, people of great education, and somehow the no person is above the law concept of the Constitution just got chucked. If it's official business, which really you can't, in the course of official business, break the law and therefore be responsible, it's a crazy distinction.
It's beyond anything that I've ever heard of in my lifetime or that I've ever read in a history book as well. And I find it to be deplorable. And now, literally, he can go sanction a coup against a country and get away with it. And he pays no price or no penalty for that as well. He can assault people in the streets of America that are protesting his administration, and he is free of any charges as well.
And I would say even more likely, he could embezzle and have money directly transferred to him. Yeah, but he did it in more subtle ways.
Sure, he can do it covertly or overtly.
Now he could do it overtly. He could say, I'm not just going to have Mike Pence stay at my hotel 3 hours from where he has to give a speech instead of pay to stay in a Dublin hotel. No, he can just transfer $1 billion from the Treasury to himself.
And ultimately, that's what he's really all about anyway. He doesn't really care about this country. He only cares about how much money he can aggregate for himself. And that is a bizarre dynamic for someone of his age as well, which is ridiculous. I don't understand someone of advanced age that is only thinking about money because he can't take it with him, and I don't get it. I absolutely positively don't get it. And he is in the pocket of a invisible empire of people that we know nothing about. There are a certain number of court justices that are in the pocket
Society
as well.
kind of vibe?
Whoever these people are, I'm not quite sure, but they run probably major industrial companies in this country, and they have a vested interest in ruining the environment and tearing up the land and keeping people subverted and keeping people in categories as Black and Latino jobs as well, and that we sort of slow the rise of women and kick them back into the kitchen. And we also make a serious attempt to control their bodies as well.
I'm going to turn my Do Not Disturb right now.
Wow.
But plus, yeah, actually, the cabal you're talking about, the decision they made last week about robbing government agencies of the ability to set rules.
Sure.
That was getting the EPA for the Cokes.
Right. And then we've got states that want to hang the Ten Commandments in school. And then a couple weeks ago, someone passed a law in Louisiana that you can castrate men if they commit acts of pedophilia as well. Now, I don't condone pedophilia, obviously, but I'm not sure that castration is the way to go either. So I don't know what this theocratic lunacy of fascism is going to do to us as a society, but it will break us. And it's interesting that a lot of people that I know that are conservative, they keep saying like, "Oh, this country's going to fall apart if the Democrats and the liberals continue to run it." But then I look at the conservatives and I'm like, yeah, this country's going to fall apart if you bleep holes are in the middle of this as well. And the way this country has stayed afloat for as long as it has, because we have been able to cross the aisle. We have been able to negotiate and agree upon things, but now people don't want to agree on anything. But the one thing they'll agree upon? Football is going to start. That's going to happen. That the teams are still going to go to camp, and they still expect these teams to be playing in the fall.
Yeah, but that's a liberal sport now because of one singer and her boyfriend or something.
But it's still going to happen. That's never going to get shut down. And then the only black kids that get to go to major schools are the ones that are really good at sports. I mean, this is getting crazy. But the thing about it is that a lot of people don't believe that progressives have the ability to mobilize and create blocks against conservative thought leaders and their businesses and industries as well. I mean, we don't have to patronize their businesses. We don't have to go to their institutions. We don't have to buy their products either. They're expecting us to be their B words. And they're going to be in for it, and they're going to be very surprised about that as well. And I think there's going to continue to be a lot of people that are going to stand up to it, and some of them through the media. As well. They're spawning an entire generation of people that are no longer interested in supporting this country, and they are Americans, and that's sad.
Yeah, that's really no. I was actually, my nephew and his friend who just finished their freshman year of college visited me last week, last week, and. Boy, the look in their eyes when they talk about where the country's headed.
Oh, yeah. Very serious.
Especially the female. The female was like,
I can't believe conservative...
I'm in Michigan and we're holding on by a thread to stay blue.
I don't know what conservative men think women are going to do, or that they're going to stand and take it. That they can't get the morning after pill, but you can order Viagra discreetly in the mail. Like, do you really, really, really think women are going to take it? Do you really, really, really think that black people are going to accept the fact that they're not going to be able to vote or go to the schools they want to be able to go to and be educated, and they're going to still run out there and get concussed on a football field? No, they're not. Trump literally said during the debate, that Israel needs to go in and finish the job. Like, what kind of talk is that? This is insane. This is absolutely crazy, And that he also aced his physical examination too. He's a loon. He's a complete and total loon.
He is, in many ways, a highly accurate representation of part of America. Like,
without question.
Really is.
Right.
He really is. He's not a thought leader. He's the idea that he is merely a mirror of what our good friend Hillary referred to as the deplorables, like the people who think the Bible bans mixed race marriage. He's like the perfect symbol of them. Like, right. I heard something on the internet, so I believe it. Like, that's all he does is he just parrots shit he hears. No filter. I know.
And he's allowed to get away with it, but nobody else is.
But you were almost giving me hope there for a minute when you're talking about women. Because I have said, since the debate...
Right.
I have said over and over the little secret hope that all of us probably have somewhere in the back of our minds, which is... all we need is like 1 or 2% of the Republican women to tell the pollster they're voting for Trump, tell their husband they're voting for Trump, and then they get in the voting booth and they check the other guy just because deep down they don't really want their pussy grabbed and then, an abortion for their daughter to be illegal.
And that's still in play. And like I said, this is game 1 of the World Series. It's not over yet. And game 1 is over, on to game 2.
But we'd feel better if Joe stepped down.
I think that we all would breathe a sigh of relief, but we would only feel better if the right person stepped up or stepped in. And who is that person? We don't know. Other than everybody getting on board with Michelle Obama, we don't know.
She wouldn't want to run.
I don't think so.
I want to. I want G&G, Gavin and Gretchen.
Interesting. But we're all over
because I assume to get that little sliver in the middle that might go either way.
Right.
I admit I think we have a better shot at them if we have a white guy.
Well, it's interesting because a friend of mine who is black and a Republican who went to Duke University as well, he said you got to fight white with white. But that really, yeah, but, nobody on
Hasn't
this...
been proven.
Yeah.
Obama proved you don't need it.
Exactly. And, Dr. King stood up and Malcolm X stood up. And there have been plenty of people throughout history, Jewish included.
Though Barack Obama really did follow one of the most incompetent Republican presidents of all time. Pretty much anyone, the whole country is willing to shift after 8 years of G.W. Bush. I feel like.
Sure.
He really did screw the pooch.
Yeah.
So much so that,
Well, he shouldn't have been there in the first place because it should have been Al Gore. But, that's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother argument. And we wouldn't be in this situation if Bill Clinton had been a lot better at keeping his pants up. And you have to start to think about it that way.
It's always an own goal. It's always an own goal with our side. We're always hurting ourselves.
Yeah, and we do. We shoot ourselves in the foot a lot, and there is something about progressive thought that I bring into question when it comes to character and behavior at times, and that's where, conservatives have us up against a wall. But the difference is that we actually care about other human beings. Conservatives are comfortable looking the other way with the disposal of human life. They have no problem with it. And I can tell because I have conservative friends who no longer speak to me. And they don't speak to me anymore because I'm black. And they don't speak to me anymore because I have a position in life that says all people are created equal and everyone deserves life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they don't want that. You know what they want me to be? They want me to be their lapdog. They want me to be their smart, talking, intelligent black friend who doesn't do anything about anything and does what they say. And then I give up my resources to them. And
right,
that's
never
not gonna
challenges
happen.
them.
Never challenges anything, and that's not going to happen. And they get really irritated with me, and I don't care, because they don't pay my bills, and they don't love me for me, even though I've loved them for them. So sometimes with a lot of conservatives, it's not a two-way street. They got a one way of thinking about these things, and I've had conservatives come in and out of my life, and they come around and they want something, and then they get something out of me, and then they go away again, and then they come back again because they want something. They're users and abusers. That's the bottom line with a lot of conservative people I've met and know. And then my friends that are conservative that are of color, they're tortured. They just think white's right. They think white's better. They think white is safer. They think they're going to get more. They think they're going to make more money. They think they're going to create security for themselves by nuzzling up to fucking white people all the time. And that's not true. And there is power in numbers, and there's power in us all sticking together. We wouldn't have gotten through the civil rights era if, Jewish Americans hadn't helped African Americans to get through it. We wouldn't be in the position to be even arguing about these things if we hadn't come together as a race and as a culture, and all of the great people, Gloria Steinem, who's still alive, Angela Davis, who's still alive, Cesar Chavez as well. There have been some great thought leaders in the 20th century that set the table for us, and we have fumbled the ball in the 21st century. Why? I don't know. Is it social media or just that we have decided that TV stars make good politicians?
Yeah, there must be something about, in air quotes, new media
It's
that
poison.
prevent thought leadership because the lowest common denominator succeeds algorithmically, right? So Kardashians and Jenners and
Hiltons.
whomever become household names
For doing nothing.
for nothing.
For just being there,
and somehow Elon Musk can become a thought leader at 140 characters at a time for a couple years, just gaining massive influence. But yeah, it's not based on quality of message or quality of person as it was
content of character.
Yeah, previously. And
right. And that guy that we erased for content of character was the same age as Anne Frank and Barbara Walters. That's how close it is. And that's what people forget. Martin Luther King would have had a really good talk show in the late 90s and early 2000s.
His message would have evolved. It was evolving.
Evolving to levels that we can't even imagine. We can't even really speculate anymore how much thought we have lost because of the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and both Kennedys and Malcolm X and Gandhi and Dr. King. Or that we did street sweep Gloria Steinem. We really made a lot of mistakes. The murdering of Harvey Milk. We've dropped the ball a lot with some great people.
You're pointing out that is it fair to say the right wing is simply more violent? I
think that's obvious. I think that's clear.
I can't name assassinations.
I think they're warmongers. I think that they don't care about human life. I think they're irresponsible with human life in a way that is profoundly dangerous to the rest of the world, and the way that they play footsie with Putin. And they rationalize it.
Well, again, he was their great Satan
20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And that's the point, that they are flip-floppers, too. They're not about anything. Trump's a flip-flopper. I have relatives who remember living in New York in the early 70s, and I remember them talking about him like he was a dick. And then I remember him running casinos in Atlantic City, and my father was a musician in the Northeast, and them talking about him like he was a dick. And I remember some of the first jobs I ever got were for John Casablancas, which was a modeling company out of New York. And I remember people talking about him like he was a dick. He's a dick, period. And anybody that wants to support him is a fool, and I don't have the time for as well. I'm respectful, I'm tolerant, but I'm not going along with their party. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I know. No, and it's still, it is almost, there's so many problems meeting at a vortex, right? But one of the biggest problems is he doesn't have the support of more than a third of the country.
Exactly. And that's what's scary. It's why is this minority running
rule.
The country? And we have spent generations beating down minorities.
I think it's because we have an electoral college that was designed to protect slavery.
It was designed to exactly, and that's and slavery was
literally gerrymandered
slavery was
the country.
A cash cow business for this culture, and we don't even want to admit that. Exploiting the immigrants was a cash cow business for this culture, and we don't even want to admit that. Shitting on women for hundreds of years. We don't want to admit that.
That was a global thing, but yeah, we were part of it.
But we were part of it. We had the opportunity to advance.
We inherited that from our Europeans.
And we didn't want to do better. We did not want to do better.
No, we're still the only country that hasn't had a female leader.
Which is embarrassing and stunning
to say
that
the French, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It is.
So maybe Michelle Obama should run, but I worry about her children. I worry about her family, the safety of her people, It's not so much anymore that I think someone's going to go and try to murder that particular person, because they have done it in the past. There's no question about it. It is on the table if you are of color or you stand for something and you are against this conservative thought, theocratic, fascist thought, the possibility of you being murdered, it's out there. It is. I think it's very real. And I think it's more than just that particular individual. People concern themselves with their families and their communities now, too. They don't want to be a danger to others. If Michelle thought it was just a danger to her and Barack, maybe they would make a different decision. But they have to think about their kids, too. And I would never ask them to sacrifice a child. That's crazy. And conservatives, they're comfortable with guns. We know this. The vast majority of people that walk into public places and start shooting people, a lot of them are conservatives. And then they still look the other way and they still think people should have their guns. And we're killing kids in elementary schools. This is nuts. Absolutely nuts. Oh, let's give guns to teachers. Give them guns. It just goes on and on and on. We're a Christian country. I mean, we're saying crap like that now. And we're just talking out both sides of our mouth. We're crazy.
It is interesting. Interesting might not be the right word. But I haven't, I would have to read a book or something to find out when the right truly went after education.
I don't know.
But it worked.
It did.
Like the lack of education, people complain.
They don't want people educated.
And by attacking education and attacking college and attacking the funding for education, they've made sure that when the Supreme Court says anything the president does is legal, they're like, right on, cool. Because I just picture it'll be my guy.
Yeah. I mean, I vividly remember growing up as a kid and not getting the academic help that I needed at certain critical moments and times in my life. But we still all had to stand up and give the Pledge of Allegiance. And I remember that one day I decided in fourth grade that I wasn't going to do it. And I got in trouble with my fourth grade teacher because I didn't pledge. But that same teacher never helped me, and I was struggling with reading at the time. That's the world I grew up in.
Yeah,
where it was
what
just
that teacher was about.
Exactly. Didn't care. I remember going to high school and people were mad at me because I wasn't good enough of a basketball player, or I didn't care enough about it. Cared about other things that have made me a far better person than most of those people that I was on the basketball team with, who aren't doing that much with their lives that's very profound. I'm not saying their lives aren't meaningful or purposeful, but if we're going to do a comparative analysis as adults, I was on a pretty good track that had nothing to do with basketball.
Well, it's pretty furiously racist.
To points that's mind-numbing.
It's funny. One of my wife's very close friends is 6'4" black man. Never cared for basketball a day in his life, and you can imagine the shit he's had to hear
all the time. I can only imagine.
Probably there may not have been a day in his life that someone hasn't said, "Oh, you play basketball? Hey, you play basketball?" And it's like,
no. But that's the expectation.
When someone's over 40, why don't you leave high school behind anyway? But
no, not with blacks. That's why they dispose of black people after a certain age too. They have no usefulness. Like advanced age black people have no purpose or no use, and that goes all the way back to slavery. Because back then, when slaves couldn't work anymore and they were too old, they used to send them for a walk in the woods to get rid of them. The final solution.
They were property, not people.
Exactly. And these constructs of the final solution have been a part of our society for a very long time in getting rid of people. They want to do it again. The final solution is that if they win in November, they want to street sweep 11 million people out of this country that they think are illegals.
Please.
I know. What the hell? And then will this podcast be illegal after November 5th, that we cannot speak out against the government?
Well, maybe come January, but this is only partially joking, but I kind of feel like if it happens, I think the California legislature will send Newsom a bill to sign that says California law supersedes federal law.
Sure. I mean, they're already we've
got to be ready to say, We're not going to live by any you can't enforce federal law within our borders here.
Right.
But so I'll be in a lucky little oasis. Lord knows what will happen in Georgia. It's going to be so frickin' tight.
It's a slave state. It's a former slave state. And every former slave state in this country is going to go right. That's it. That's the call.
Because
that's
of
what they're going to do.
Voter suppression?
Absolutely. But there's been voter suppression in the South forever.
Oh, permanently.
Yeah, my grandparents, they never voted.
And
they were scared
the current
to
Supreme
vote.
Court supported it. They repealed key enforcements to protect the right to vote.
I mean, I wasn't around for Plessy versus Ferguson, but I've been taught about Plessy versus Ferguson. And not necessarily at school, at the dinner table.
No, in school you just learn the name.
The name, but you get the details when you're having dinner with your parents and your aunts and your uncles and your grandparents, and you know the drill. You come from the same type of diaspora. Well, guess what? You're going to hear it anyway. This is what went down in 1936. And And history, in a very strange way, is repeating itself. And it's going to be not until these poor people that are white, that are in the flyover states and in the South, they get shipped off to camps. They are forced to be cheap manual labor. They are dying by the thousands of disease, is when they'll get the point. Because that's what's coming for them. If anybody out there that is poor and that is white thinks that there's a prize for them or there's a Trump check in the mail, if they vote for him on November 5th, is a fool.
Didn't COVID kind of prove that they don't care?
No, they're just in denial. It's not even not care. They don't even consider it because they really are holding on to this belief system that these rich people at the top that are these false gods that consider themselves people of the Bible when they're not, because they all have like side relationships. And if you go into any of these strip clubs in the South, you know who's in there? These old white dudes watching black and brown girls up on stripper poles. That's what goes on in these strip clubs. And they're buying and selling these black and brown girls every day, but they can rationalize it. It's insane. They have multiple buckets with piles of bullshit in them. And they think they are winning. Ironically, from paying attention to the media. The thing that they have been tainting for the past several years, too. So they're smelling their own ass.
So really, what destroyed democracy was Roger Ailes. Was creating a separate source of information that would be intentionally biased to keep the third of the country we're talking about from getting information from a Walter Cronkite type that's going to make state facts.
Right, exactly.
So it really was the creation of Fox News. And then, of course, to the right of Fox News, we got all kinds of hoo-has. Right. But because, I mean, Lord, I used to try to defend people, family members, whatever, with I would say privately, behind their backs, look, if you watch Fox News every day and thought what they were saying was true, you too would think that the Democrats are pretty fucking evil and trying to destroy your country.
Right. Exactly.
Like they put on a pretty convincing show.
Sure.
If you're ignorant as fuck. If you don't bring any knowledge of your own to the table.
Right. And if I was living in Germany in 1934, someone could have convinced me that 3% of the population was at fault for ruining and dragging the country down, and these people must go. That's how powerful media has been, even in its infancy stages, when they didn't even have internet. They just had the radio and newspapers, and it still influenced people's behavior. So now it's just exponentially larger. We're afraid of black people. They're 14% of the population. We're afraid of Latinos. They're 16% of the population. We're afraid of Jews. We're afraid of Asians. White people are afraid of everything. Poor white people are afraid of everything. And rich white people are afraid of everything. Middle-class white people just want to have jobs and work and do their thing and keep their homes.
Put on the blinders.
And unfortunately, put on the blinders. And I wish they would wake up and pick a side. And this neutrality that they have is going to come to critical mass as we get closer and closer to November. And I think the white middle class is going to freak out sometime in late August going into September. And there will be some more inciting incidents that are going to happen. I don't want any more George Floyds, but it could happen. You know? Because we're one more flashpoint away. It's like if I drove out of here tonight and I get pulled over by the cops and I get beaten to death, it's on. You know? And there you'll be at a press conference standing next to my mom with a T-shirt on with me on it. That's how hard this would hit. You know, I'd like to introduce myself, Mrs. Taylor. My name's Jeff. I loved your son. You know.
That is a funny thing about friendship in middle age is that you actually don't know each other's parents. Isn't it kind of funny?
No, it is kind of funny.
You grow up all your life with like actually... My friend I'm about to visit in Canada, I actually do get to see his mom and dad. His parents are both still alive. These fucking Indians live forever. Was that? I hope that wasn't wrong to say.
No, it's actually right from a genetic standpoint.
His dad still does fucking yoga.
Well, because they do yoga and they eat turmeric and all this other stuff that we're supposed to be doing that we don't do in the West because they feed us preservatives and that kills us sooner. But with the last 20 years, we're on a bunch of pills.
But I can't wait to see I can't wait to see him, but then I'm looking forward to seeing his parents again, you know?
I think it's awesome.
Because they moved up to Vancouver to be around their grandkids, because that's what you do when you love your family. But anyway, I forget what I was trying to say. But it's, friends, you brought up your mom, and I was like, yeah, see, we'll never know each other. Plus, my mom is way far gone at this point anyway.
Well, my mom's still around, so I would definitively introduce you. I would
fully clear, too. That's nice.
Yes, you would enjoy.
Mine is in a fog now.
It's hard. I mean, it's difficult for people advancing in age these days, especially in America. And it's strange how we're supposed to be the most technologically advanced culture in the world, but we have a lot of people that are walking around with a lot of emotional, psychological, and mental disorders as well. And just cognitive issues that are just deteriorating rapidly. Is it the stress? Is it the food? Is it the lack of yoga? I don't know. There's not enough turmeric in our diets.
Supply. I definitely wouldn't argue against it. What's happened to our food supply since the 60s or 70s?
Oh, yeah.
It's been...
tainted. And it's about to be tainted more because, our boy, Trumpy, wants to deregulate everything. They'll poison us. They don't care. You going to trust the water once he gets back into office? I'm not. I don't trust anything he does anymore, or any of them affiliated with them, or businesses that are connected to them. We're back to mom and pop shops. I'm going to the little Jewish guy on the corner for my meat.
Well, you got a little butcher nearby? You got a corner store?
Jeff,
you got a bodega?
Jeff.
Okay, fine.
Oh
I was hoping I was hoping there was a cool little kosher deli around the corner and you could go get some quality shit now and then,
They'll be popping up all over the place.
We got one old bakery still owned by the original family near here. The problem is you buy the stuff and it goes bad in a day or two.
That's real life.
It has no preservatives.
Exactly. That's how it works.
And then I look at the bread we buy, Oro wheat. It lasts 3 or 4 weeks. It's
it's disgusting.
And
then it lasts in your body for
sawdust
years.
And plastic?
Probably.
But it's so convenient that I don't have to throw it out when it goes bad.
But convenience will kill you.
It's going to kill me.
It's going to kill you. That's what's smoking us with this next election. Everybody thinks that Trump's offering convenience. I'll do it. I'll get it for you. It'll be great. This is wonderful. That's what he's doing. He's just selling you.
I know, and he's still saying, I can't help it. But by the way, nothing annoys me more than the people who think that calling him a liar will help. But I can't get over the tariff thing. He's still saying that these foreign countries will be paying us money. And it's
that's for
we pay it. It's an import tax. we pay our companies pay the tax, and then they charge us more for the goods. The check doesn't come from China. The check doesn't come from Japan. It comes from us. It makes our inflation go up. How is this not hurting him? But the answer is,
you're intelligent, and you're not from Independence, Missouri. Okay, that's it. And you have more than just, barely a high school education, and have far greater experiences in the world. And you're getting ready to travel outside of the country, Jeff, in like 2 days. You're a sophisticated
barely outside
man.
The country, but yes.
Essentially, you
but I've even been to Europe. Like I'm aware that
I would have assumed by now you would have been to Europe.
I'm aware that other countries aren't. That was always one of the things that I mocked Trump the most for when he first ran, and we didn't think he was going to be our president. I was like, do you get that this guy is allegedly a billionaire, and he lives in New York, and he's never been to Paris? Like, just the idea that he wasn't going to Europe just shows that, like, that's a really weird fucker.
Well, besides
the ketchup on the steak, which, again, that should be a death penalty situation.
He should
If you put ketchup on steak, we don't need you in the gene pool.
No, and it should be televised live. It should be a pay-per-view event.
Something like that.
Ketchup on the steak. See him roasted.
Because that's just like, I mean...
It's disgusting.
It
says it all right there. And it proves that he doesn't really have any money or any level of real sophistication. He's not a rich guy. He's not.
No.
And I'm not even going to criticize his personal choices as far as who he decided to, expand his family with. I'm going to leave that as personal choices between adults. But again, it reflects the fact that he may not have any real money, that this is all fraudulent.
Yes, well, he just makes it all. He's just a debtor, and he's managed to live in debt and try to keep a cash flow going while his net worth stays flat.
Right, and he keeps dancing for clowns to get more money.
And he's kind of, well, Lord knows the big lie was the most profitable thing that ever happened in his life.
Sure.
All the poor tax or the stupid tax, the hundreds of millions sent to him by his supporters to fight the steal, and then he just kept it because he needs the money.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
And they accept that off of him. Now his kids don't accept his behavior the way they used to. I mean, they've all kind of drifted into the corner or the shadows.
Except for that C-word daughter-in-law.
She's odd.
Like, she just said something ridiculous. I forget what it was, but I think she referred to him as the current president. There's still this belief that, I don't know.
They can believe whatever they want to believe.
I know.
But,
Wait, I forgot. You're still breaking me down. Yeah, keep going. I haven't started crying yet.
No. But you are easing into the reality of the situation as well. So there is the possibility of some level of long ball. We might win this as a 3-run home run in Game 7, which would be great. We might. Or it might be like, okay, he gets into office, but then now we're getting him out of there before he can even finish his second term, a la Richard Nixon as well. So there are still precedents on the table, and it would be a race against time, as we know, Supreme Court justices come and go under very interesting circumstances as well, because they're in for life, and life has an expiration date, and you never know. Okay, so we're playing a lot of games with a lot of things.
I know. So we sit back and we pray people die of natural causes.
They can die of all kinds of things.
We really do need some wingnut left-wingers. We
need some good old-fashioned wingnut left-wingers, and we just don't have them right now for some reason, And I've been around some of these people. I mean, I've been around Pete Buttigieg at a private party at the Smithsonian Institute in D.C., and he's not ready. You got to be tough. And, Kamala, you know, she's had the opportunity to seize the day, and for whatever reason, she fumbled the ball at the goal line. I don't know why, you know, but, you know, I am a fan of Stacey Abrams. And I am a fan of Keisha Lance Bottoms as well. There are other choices and other people. We just need to decide. Someone said to me the other day that would be interesting. Let's, sit down and have dinner with Nikki Haley and see if we can get her to come to the other side. I know that's a weird thing to say. I'm not advocating for it, but that's how radicalized this is.
And that's how desperate we are. On the left, if you're left of center, you're like, okay, Nikki Haley is horrible on 97% of the issues. But she believes in the Constitution, and she's intelligent.
She's an immigrant.
And we'll take it.
Yeah,
we'll take it. We'll take it. In fact, if she ran and Stacey Abrams was her VP, whatever, I would vote for her.
Sure. Absolutely. We're there. We're
there. I got Trump derangement syndrome. I would literally look. If Biden died 2 weeks before, I'd still vote for him.
Me too. You know, and if Trump died 2 weeks before, I'd still vote against him and still hate his guts. So, as we like to say in the streets, he's dead to me. Like, I'm over it. Like, I don't really think about him as someone that actually exists. I just think about this stupid movement that I need to put its lights out. That's all I'm really thinking about. Trump doesn't scare me. It's the people that are running that machine that do. And it's like, how do you gum up the works with that?
So does that mean like Steve Bannon is the true danger?
In a manner of speaking.
The QAnon people, the Bannon people.
These other people. We know some of the names, but not all of them.
I can't name who runs Newsmax.
Yeah, Pence ran away from him.
Yeah?
So he saw something that scared him.
Not until they threatened to kill him.
Well, he said something.
For supporting the Constitution.
Exactly. So he's not interested in being a part of that. Giuliani is meat on a stick. He's done.
Yeah.
And they've forgotten him because they don't need him anymore.
I know. They're ashamed of Mitt. They turned their back on Mitt.
They did.
They have no interest in Mitt.
Nope. Exactly. John McCain, all the way to his grave, was offended. Because that's not how he wanted to handle things. He had integrity, but people believe that you don't need integrity to run this country, and you do. And they're in for a big surprise, and they just really believe that there will not be any pushback. There's just weird things that are going on now. Like, black kids are now starting to go back to HBCU schools. There's just these...
Right, like enrollment was down for generations.
And now it's going back up again. Because that window in you can go get a great opportunity in the white world is closing. It's obvious that it's closing. And most black people don't play sports. They're 6'4" and they do something else.
Yeah. Like get educated and start a career.
And be a decent human being. Like, there's all this other stuff. And so, they're in for it. We just have to be in it for the long haul to say that we're ready to stand up to all of this craziness and madness. And a lot of it's going to be a trigger effect, unfortunately, with what's going on in the Ukraine and what's going on in the Gaza Strip as well. Like, that's not going to go away, and that's going to influence votes as well. And what black people are going to do is going to influence votes. And are black people going to hit the streets? I don't know. Probably. And with whom else? Like a certain number of Latinos and Asians and Jewish people and gay people. It's going to go on and on and on. This is going to be a crazy summer that we haven't seen not since 1968. And that's where we are. But anything can happen. Anybody can die. Trump can sit here all day long and talk a lot of shit.
Yeah, he won't necessarily be sickly before he goes. And Biden, no, it's true. I know, it is bizarre.
It's very, very bizarre. We don't know what's going to happen. But something is going to happen. And I do think that we are getting to a point where whomever is in office, it may be zero-sum gain. We're either going to be together or we're going to be apart. And when people start to pull apart, what does that look like? Are a bunch of people going to move back to California? I don't know. Are a bunch of people going to leave the South and go to the North? Are people going to leave Wisconsin and go to Michigan? Who knows? We could get a lot of movement in our country as well, which will economically destabilize a lot of places that were really banking on growth, like Atlanta, like Nashville, Dallas, some of these flashpoint cities, and then Mississippi and Alabama continue to sink lower and lower and lower into the abyss. South Carolina doesn't, because Charleston is a destination spot. It's a very lovely town, but nobody gives a crap about Alabama. Nobody gives a crap about Mississippi, but Louisiana has New Orleans, and so it'll always have something. But some of these other places, who cares? I can go live someplace else. Trump's not going to be able to mobilize the army against California and say, you can't leave the union. We're going to start a war.
Not only that, but I would assume his reaction to California, not necessarily seceding, but saying California law supersedes federal law. And it'd be like, well, how about, you guys peacefully, you keep paying federal taxes, you don't vote for president, you're not part of the Electoral College anymore, and none of our rules apply to you. Like a soft separation. I could see us doing it just to...
Or definitely,
But I'm saying, he would love, he wouldn't fight to keep California because it's his way of getting rid of a state that has, of 40+ million people, there's 5 million surplus Democrats here.
But does he get rid of the North? Does he get rid of New York?
If he can.
So there's just certain... Illinois. There's just certain states where he's just done. Missouri, done.
I know deep down he just would love
Oregon,
to be
done.
The president of the Confederacy.
Well, that's where it's going to head, whether he likes it or not. That's what it's going to look like,
Yeah.
But then again, he's got the entire back end of Florida, which is basically Latin America. How's he going to deal with that? There's all of these variables in all these different places.
Yeah, the Panhandle is Alabama, Mississippi, and then you've got a little bit of Cuba, and then New York retirees. Yeah, that's a fucked up state. You brought up the Gaza Strip. I couldn't help but note that something very interesting happened in Israel this week, which is Israeli Supreme Court decided that the ultra-religious have to be in the army as well for the first time ever. The ultra-Orthodox have to register for the army. They have to report. And so now 10,000 ultra-Orthodox males are protesting the idea that they would help defend the country that allegedly protects them.
Well, that also gives you an indication of the reality of the engagement that they are currently in, that they need more people.
Yeah.
They're getting tapped out. And, people are dying on both sides, and that's very real as well. And it's all
You wouldn't know if you were only getting your info from TikTok, though.
Oh.
I know. It's a good thing my family doesn't listen to this because there's been some really disturbing... TikTok is really getting more disturbing for me because there's a generation that gets all their news from it, and the algorithmic amplification is really supremely biased. It really is controlled by the CCP, and man, they want our young people not believing in democracy.
That's to their advantage. I totally get why they do it. I'm just shocked that young people in America want to stay so incredibly misinformed that they don't want to know what's really going on because they just love TikTok so much. They just love the engagement, and they're distracted. And they think that they can sit this one out and wait this one out and things are going to work out for them in the end, and it's not. They're in for it. And the only thing this is creating is the rise of the Gen Xers and middle-aged people who are going to be running around saving the world. That's where a lot of this is going. There's no youth leadership that's coming up that's going to, because that's what they're waiting on.
We've been waiting
for the young, pretty person to come in.
How long have we been waiting for these baby boomers to get the fuck out of the way?
Exactly. And, we've been pushing. And then we had a Gen Xer in there and was starting to set things straight, and then this knee-jerk reaction after 8 years has just been terrible. But it was rigged anyway. But I think one of the mistakes, again, in the Liberal Democratic Party, it's like we spent too much time really focusing on Hillary.
Yeah.
And we turned the Hillary-Bernie thing into zero-sum gain. And I think we would have been better off like Bernie against Trump in 2016. I think we had a better shot than with Hillary. There's just something about the fact that we have a problem with women in leadership positions in this country, and not just in politics, but in all aspects of our culture.
There's a million moving parts to it, but I was reminded in a conversation earlier today about Wasserman Schultz, like running the DNC, just bending every rule possible to lock in Hillary's nomination.
And it was too much. And that was ridiculous because she already had a shot. She failed against Obama, and that's fine. And then you're done. Okay, so we need somebody else. And there wasn't anybody else that they really focused on or groomed. And I think Bernie was the stopgap at that particular time. And they should have let him do it. And I think we could have prevented a lot of this as well.
Or at the very least, this probably was a non-starter, but back in the old days, when I was a young man, Bernie coming as close as he did meant he should have been a running mate.
Easily.
End of story.
End of story.
Without he should have been the running mate. End of story.
Yeah.
And how strong would that ticket have been?
Hillary and Bernie?
I'm fucking forgetting the guy who ran with her. Tom starts with a P or something?
Yeah.
See, we can't even remember the motherfucker.
Tom Postman. He was on Mork and Mindy. No, I'm kidding.
A genius.
Exactly. A genius comedian, Tom Postman.
He was a genius.
He was. I love it. We remember that. That's what we remember. But not who was Hillary's VP.
It wasn't Tom, was it? What was
it?
But we can't name her running mate. And how embarrassing is that?
It's terrible. It's embarrassing, but, we're embarrassing.
But also, she was going to win until James Comey whipped out Anthony Weiner's wife's laptop and said there could be more emails on here. And that kind of killed it right at the end. It was everyone's like, more emails, fine. That middle 1% shifted away from Hillary. And because I was watching closely because I don't mean to brag, but I was in chemotherapy through the American Affordable Care Act marketplace. And I was watching that shit closely because Trump had promised to take away my health care on day one. And I was currently getting chemotherapy. I'm like, holy shit, I won't have health insurance if he wins. I even posted, I didn't share with anyone my cancer, right? And then, except family. And then I couldn't take it. And like 2 weeks for the election, I shared a picture of myself connected to the machines, even less hair on my head, saying, I just want you to know, if you think repealing the Affordable Care Act won't affect anyone, I will lose my insurance. I will. I will be uninsurable because I'm currently getting cancer treatment. And I literally had people, not friends, but associates on Facebook respond to that. Oh, I wish you the best, but I'm voting for Trump no matter what. And I was like, you literally just said you don't care if I die. Because I'm telling you.
That's what I'm saying. Conservatives don't. They don't care unless it's them.
And then some higher power made him so incompetent at his job, he couldn't repeal anything. He barely accomplished nothing. And they don't even remember him as the guy who could get nothing done.
Because he's
couldn't repeal that. Couldn't build the wall. Any promise he made. Didn't.
So why do you think he's going to be able to get it done again? Like, that's what I'm saying. If he gets back in, he's just another clown show. Yeah. Tim Kaine, by the way.
Tim
Kaine.
From, what was it?
2016.
What little state did he represent? He also represented a state with like no electoral college weight. It was so fucking insulting.
White
so
man.
dumb.
White man.
Because she thought she had it in the back.
And someone told her she needed a white man. And it should have been Bernie, the Jew, or a woman, or somebody else. A chimpanzee would have been a better choice.
Yeah, I might have voted if he changed his last name to the Jew. Bernie the Jew.
Bernie the Jew. Well,
Bernie the Jew. Or the fact that he even sounds like he's still in Brooklyn.
I love it.
Can't take the Brooklyn out of the boy.
No, you can't. But that bothers some people. People don't like Jews that sound like Jews.
No.
They hate that. That's
Honestly,
horrible.
I was one of those. Look, there's not a Jew in America who thought Bernie could be president.
But there's never been a Jew to be president, which is odd. Again.
Jews never even wanted to be president because we're like, please.
There's no money in it.
They still think we're running this country.
But that's the thing. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it.
I'll never get it.
I mean, I can only observe the Jewish culture, and I just look at it and go like, man, that's a tough gig.
I was all the jokes in my head are horribly inappropriate, but it involves killing certain saviors and just doing things that people don't care for.
No.
And it's like, and then we turn around and say, the Romans actually did it. And everyone goes, we don't care. So what if that's in our book? So we still want to blame you. Mm-hmm. It's like, really, we were just in the neighborhood. Like, we didn't, we thought he was an all right guy. Not a good carpenter. I hear the tables were wobbly.
Nice. You'll be here all week?
I will not be here all week. I always got to watch the blasphemy because I know.
Well, you have a propensity towards it.
Good.
You do. You get a, as the kids like to say, you get a little lit.
I get into it, yeah. Because I don't understand it, I guess.
I don't think we're supposed to understand it. I think that's the point of it. You just kind of figure out where you fit in.
I don't believe my own religion either. The one I was born into. I'm pretty sure you can't get like two of every animal on a boat. But I think it's an analogy.
Everybody comes back with the
I think it's a
thing
metaphor
every time. It's
but
the
I get that it's a
thing.
metaphor.
All my Jewish friends, they're always
get on Noah.
It's always the Noah thing. What is that? What is up with that?
Because it's like the most famous. Can anyone name a story from the Old Testament besides that one?
Oh my God! It's like with like black people. The opposite of that is like the Holy Ghost. And black, because that's a little too much for me. Like I can't go that far. But like black people are just like the Holy Ghost, Holy Ghost, Holy Ghost, Holy Ghost. I mean, they even make songs about it. And if you say it in rhythm long enough, it sounds like a gospel tune. But with Jewish people, it's just like
Noah.
I don't.
You
think
can't
so.
get those
You can't
animals.
get those animals on the boat. It's just like, what is this?
Have you ever tried to get 2 dogs and 2 cats to walk up a ramp? Forget it.
Never happened.
But I had to bite my tongue the other day. I don't even know who I was talking to, but they brought up the amount of catastrophe in human stories and how it's proof that, like, someday, I forget, they had a really dumb conclusion. I just wanted to go, just so we're clear, like, human beings had to live near fresh water. That was rivers. There's such a thing called the 100-year flood. Therefore, every culture on Earth has natural disasters. And they're myths because there was a 100-year flood at some point. And everyone talks about the world drowning. So, of course, Noah's Ark is a fine story about a 100-year flood and how to deal with a flood situation. Of course, you'd want a nice big boat.
Right.
If you can't build a house on stilts.
Right.
But, so I tease.
You do. But, it hurts the sensitive sometimes.
Yeah. That's why it's safer to go after your own, right?
Always. What are you talking about?
Always safer.
What are you talking about?
Always
Absolutely.
safer. Yeah. Plus, we do run the banks, so. Oh, my God. Not anymore. Nice. I know.
That's like up there with like LeBron doesn't run the Lakers. Okay.
No, they drafted his son because he's a really good basketball.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Okay,
he played college NC2A and he averaged like 2.8.
This is really funny coming from you.
2.8
LeBron
points
runs
a game.
the Lakers. Okay.
Wait, can I share with you that for the first time in my life, I rooted for the Celtics?
You're weird.
But I want to tell you why.
You like South Boston?
So I don't like anything about Boston. I love the city of Boston. I don't like the people. But I don't like the sports fans. But Jaylen Brown, UC Berkeley, student athlete,
fantastic guy.
Internship at NASA. Now he's a fellow at MIT. Teaches robotics in the summer.
He's killing it. He's everything.
He is everything I want an NBA player to be.
Right.
And over on the other side
Trump
in
will have him
Dallas,
jailed.
over in Dallas, there's a fine young man named Kyrie Irving who tells me the Earth is flat. So you know what?
But he's a better ball handler.
Sure. But if I got if there's a flat earther on one team and a NASA intern and MIT fellowship holder on the other team, I'm just going to go with the genius guy. I couldn't.
That's weird because we live in a world where we don't go with the genius guy. We go with the guy that had the reality series that says you're fired. Like that's what we go with.
No, I want the smartest person.
You're not. No one's feeling that.
And he won the MVP too, which is funny because I thought the other guy played just as well. But anyway,
it's a better story.
Tatum. Yeah,
it's a better story.
It is a great story.
It is. I think they're great. We're not going to win next year because the Lakers are.
Because of Bronny?
Not because of Bronny. Bronny's going to sell tickets.
Wait, you think the Lakers are going to win?
Yes, I do. I think that they are going. They're going to get to the finals. I think that there's who else in the West is going to be able to stop them. Warriors are done.
Well,
who's left? Phoenix is falling apart. There's Dallas.
Yeah,
but they got exposed.
They got exposed.
So they have some fixing to do.
That's some fixing, but Luka will be a year older.
True.
Nothing like being embarrassed in the finals to make you
hopefully
finally lose those 10 pounds you've been telling everyone
that you don't need to put the beer
to
down.
You know what I mean?
You know,
like if he's just a little more athletic, a little more whatever.
Yeah, but like Eastern European guys, they're not really into all that training.
No, and they don't play the defense. And
oh my God, they play no D. It's insane.
It is true.
It's odd, right? No D.
Honestly, I thought it was kind of weird that Dallas made it in the first place.
Oh, I thought it was too.
Yeah. But
I don't know. I just think the Lakers.
Well, Mr. Davis was looking very good. So.
Oh, yeah. And then they've picked up some shooters and things like that.
And surprisingly played all year. The fuck? Who knew?
I know. And Bronny's not going to play a lot. He'll play some. He'll be a spot-up shooter. It's a great story. It's just like, come on. It's unprecedented. You know?
Yeah, it is. It is pretty crazy.
And it's more a testament to LeBron's health than
the Warriors
anything.
should sign Del Curry to a 1-year minimum contract.
There it is. I've been waiting.
Let him play 1 minute.
For the Jeff
let him play a
Howard.
minute. No, wouldn't that be a great story?
Only if he comes out in a wheelchair.
Oh, I bet he could still shoot the lights out.
Del Curry. I would.
Wouldn't that be great? And Michael Thompson.
Del Curry. You going to keep going with this? Who else?
Those are the only two guys on the Warriors.
That you can remember.
The only two Warriors that have famous dads, the NBA dads?
No, there's others ones too.
Yeah.
Larry Nance Jr. is another one.
Oh, yeah. Isn't he in Cleveland or somewhere?
No, Larry Nance Sr. was in Cleveland.
Oh.
Okay, now you should stop.
Where's Junior now? He doesn't play well enough for me to pay attention.
No, who does he oh, gosh. I don't know. He plays in the West. I can't remember who he plays for. He did play for the Lakers for a hot minute.
He did play a good 7 minutes a night. And he was a reliable bench player.
The mere thought that this conversation has dovetailed into a ditch over the Larry Nance family.
I will say, in defense of any NBA player that I tease in such a way
There's
as I just
Tim
did to
Hardaway
Larry Nance.
Jr. He plays in.
He does. He's still in Dallas, right? Or no?
No, he's in Miami.
Miami,
maybe.
Yeah. He just shoots.
He's.
I loved his dad. Damn, his dad was a good
great.
player.
Yeah, but homophobic. But that's another thing.
Yeah. But I was going to say, like, even with tennis, I always try to point out to people, do you realize how amazing the people who aren't stars are? Like, you know, on this globe, there's thousands and thousands of basketball players, thousands and thousands of tennis players, and the person who's the 120th best in the world at this doesn't make a huge living.
But can beat your pants off.
And... Well, could
the 120th best basketball player in the NBA can like destroy you at the local YMCA.
Oh, with one hand,
Exactly.
with behind their back, literally chained. Yeah, no, it's yeah. They're amazing athletes, but it shows you how hard it is to be the best because
Exactly.
it's all at that point. It comes down to psychology.
Right. That's why it's really important for young black kids to stay in school and focus on their studies and not be so aspirational about sports and be sucked into that. Because also those same people that are conservative, they don't like the NIL money either. They don't want these black kids making any money. They're mad about that. And so they think they should go to their big institutions and not make any money and play for them for 4 years for free and then kick them into the streets. And then they're later robbed by them at an ATM 10 years later. But, you know, there's a system that's over and so on so many levels. You know, and these are the things that the Conservative Party can't take into account either. And they are scared. And I listen to them talk. And they're not as quick to be jerks as they were the first time around with Trump either. And they do say more things like, we need more women and minorities in here. Like, they do talk about it. They do bring it up. And then when they say things that are out of line, like, oh, there's plenty of equality out there for everybody. And then they kind of look around the room and they go, oh, wait, well, maybe not. Maybe I've crossed the line. No, I retract that, you know.
Well, they still want to tell you that
they want to
a
tell
white male getting out of college today can't get a job because of DEI.
It's like, whatever. Like, they love telling that story and that narrative and then poo-pooing the idea that I can be stopped and harassed by the cops, saying that that's like overreach. Or that people are not systemically doing it to me over and over again. And it happens to me every time I walk into a 7-Eleven and I just want to buy a soda. Like, I'm to the point now where I get an anxiety attack if I walk into a 7-Eleven. I don't even want to do it anymore. I can barely get my change back at the counter. It's lunacy. Absolute lunacy.
Do you notice differences between Atlanta and Los Angeles or just urban centers? Same vibe?
Urban centers, same vibe. And then these isolated incidents where people are really wonderful to you as well. And that can happen.
In both places.
In both places, yeah. But there's an overreaching perception about black men that they're up to no good. And it doesn't matter if you're intelligent, articulate, well-spoken, well-dressed, nice. They don't give a shit. Like, it's just being a black man in America blows. It blows. And I'm tired of people thinking like it's pretty good. It's not. It is a hassle. And it's interesting because the further you go up the scale with the black men that are educated and they're doing the right thing, it blows more. That's why there's a lot of black men at the bottom saying like, fuck this, I'm going to stay at the bottom because it's a lot easier because I get sweated less. You know, the thought of trying to be a decent black man these days is daunting. You know, and I go in and I speak at schools and things like that, and I talk to young black males, and, you know, they're like, I don't want that. That looks like that sucks. I don't want to be a part of that. You know, I'm going to stay over here, and I'm going to learn how to rap, or I'm going to play sports. But the thought of, like, you know, trying to, like, be an upright citizen doesn't seem to have a payoff.
Just get a degree in accounting and get a job at a firm and just work your way up and
I just don't believe it.
Home.
There's
don't believe it's possible.
They don't believe it's possible, and it's not really there for them as well. And I get that, and we're not promoting that as a society, nor do people care. And now that we've turned the prison systems into a business proposition, it's just like they got a place for you.
Yes,
they really do.
And laws are written specifically to.
Oh yeah, like what am I going to do? I can't get mad. You know, cops show up. They can take me in, figure out some way to keep me, detain me. That's going to be their first impulse with me. You know, it's a tough gig.
You just reminded me of our... That wasn't pre-COVID. No, that was post-COVID because we met during COVID. But when we were at the Sherman and that very nice woman didn't understand that her public display of anger was a privilege.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Being angry is a privilege.
Sure.
And you're just sharing that.
Right.
If you express anger in the wrong place at the wrong time,
it's a problem.
You will be put away.
Absolutely. Or injured. Or worse.
Yeah. Or all the above.
Or all of the above.
Exactly. We actually had a documentary at Film Invasion LA. Actually, we showed it Sunday, so less than a week ago. No, a week and a half. Called King of the Butterflies. It was about a man who was a black man who was arrested for being in a burger stand as it was robbed. And the guy behind the counter was shot and killed. And the thing is, he had the instinct to run,
which
when
is normal.
The gun went off, which is so normal. And then he was caught and jailed as an accessory. Mm-hmm. And of course, the other guy wouldn't refuse to say that I didn't know that guy, even though they'd never met before. So he spent, I can't remember how many years in college, and I mean, oh my God!
Yeah, they took him to college. They're just like, oh my God, you just witnessed a shooting. Here's your degree.
But he devoted himself to his education in there and wrote screenplays. And then came out, and of all the crazy ass shit, a white Jewish literary agent.
Oh my God, really?
Bought a house on the outskirts of the hood and lived across the street from him. And when his wife met the guy across the street, she's like, "What did you?" "Oh, well, I'm literary manager for screenwriters." She goes, "Oh, my husband wrote a screenplay." And of course, the literary manager was like, "Fuck, I shouldn't have said what I do." But he got handed the screenplay, and he thought it was one of the funniest things he'd ever read, and he represented him, and they actually they managed to sell it. Never got made, but they sold it. So anyway, it was a really cool documentary about this guy's life. And amusingly, it was directed by someone from Iceland. And guess how this documentary got made? At the very end, and I got to virtue signal to an audience of no white people. I said, I just want to point out, if no one noticed, at the end of this film, it said, funded by the Icelandic Council for the Arts. We don't support the arts in America. So to get a documentary made about a black American, it had to be funded by the taxpayers of Iceland.
They had to see value in it. Yeah. Well, in America, Trump wants to cut PBS, so there's that. You didn't know that?
No, I do know.
Yeah, but that's, we're opposite worlds here. We don't like media when it's meaningful.
I mean, the crazy thing, it's funny, the first thing, and this is to my deficit, whenever they go after, Corporation for Public Broadcasting and NPR and stuff, I'm just like, I'm aware that, the federal government is, a very small percentage of their budget. Part of me just wants them to just say fuck it to the government and walk away and pledge drive our brains out, but just get independent of this corrupt government.
We have to.
I don't think we have a choice. Shameful.
Right.
It's shameful that the Icelandic government cares more about injustice in California, in Los Angeles, than, we don't have a California Council of the Arts. As far as I know, maybe we do. But I don't know anyone who gets any money for the arts here.
I don't either. Someone does. Ken Burns, probably.
There's grants.
There is.
Whatever. Why did I bring that up? I forget. But anyway, I think I just want to share the Iceland
I think it was the Icelandic thing, and it was your film festival and the film, and you got to stand in front of a room full of black people and scold America, shielded by a room full of black people.
Shielded. I'm going to have you watch a film when we finish, but called The Word, out of Texas. But a cool thing is it's a reparations comedy, short, and co-written by two white men and two black men. Mm-hmm. No female representation in the film, by the way. But anyway, but one of the black guys was at the Q&A, and he said, "I want to tell you all an interesting fact." Because people were saying it's a touchy film. People were like, "Do you get shit for this film at festivals and stuff?" And the guy said, "Let me tell you something. If I'm not there, all the white liberals give this guy so much shit for this film. If I'm there, they tell him it's brilliant. Because he shields him from their criticism. I thought that was interesting. I don't know, because you mentioned shielding.
Yeah. No, I think that we're here to shield each other in many ways. We got to have each other's backs.
If not, who will?
Who will? Exactly.
More people have your back than mine, but that's okay. I think I'll be all right. I have some lucky advantages.
Some, just a few.
Just in certain places.
Just in certain places at certain times.
I mean,
but they're not always. There's certain places we could go.
Where
in the
I'd
South,
be in more trouble.
You might be the problem,
I might be spotted. I might even be taken for an Arab or something.
Mexican. I would just go Mexican.
Mexican.
Oh, yeah. I have Jewish friends that get mistaken for Mexicans.
Interesting.
Yeah, man. Where you been, man? When's the last time you were in the
I have nothing on. I have no hair on my head, which means, so if without horns, I'm clearly not Jewish.
Very good. Well played.
But it's true. I know a Jew boy who moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and he's like, at least twice a week, someone says to me, his name is Ari Goldstein, and they go, wait, you don't have horns. And he's like, no. They're like, oh, you're the first Jew I've met. No horns. And I'm like, all right. Every week you're educating 2 people.
Every week. Every week.
That's 100 a year.
It is 100 a year.
So if he lived 100 years, he could educate 1,000
people.
North Carolinians.
Exactly. And we could do the math on all the statistics on that and all the data and say,
How
literally,
long?
These 5 blocks in a lifetime, if he lives to be 100.
0.001% of North Carolina.
He will change.
They might still dislike the Jews, but at least they know they don't have horns, I guess. I don't know.
And there's...
I got nothing. I try to be, see? So I can't be hopeful. There you go. I'm not hopeful.
You're not. I know. You've made it.
I used to think we were always trending towards a positive. Trump is a setback, and then,
not so much anymore.
But another 4, I don't know what could happen.
Nothing good. Nothing good. But I don't think he would make 4. I think that there would be powers that be in some extraneous circumstances, and democracy would kick in, and he would get the Nixon. I don't think he would make it.
So how should we discuss how that could play out, or
we can?
Well, because I'm just curious.
Because I think that he can. He can be impeached. He can be arrested. He can lose control of the military.
The military will.
They are not. They
remain disciplined.
Yeah, they will not take their vows.
They will not break the Constitution.
Yeah, exactly. Their oath is to the Constitution of the United States, not to the President of the United States. And a lot of people that run the military at the top are women and minorities. Like, he's in for a big surprise. What's he going to do? Try to get all those people fired?
And all the people at the top went through West Point and whatnot, so they are well educated.
They're well educated, but they're like, come on. They have a tradition, a long-standing tradition that's over 250 years old. They're not ready to just give all that up for this clown who never served, who I don't even think finished college, for the love of God.
No, he didn't.
And enjoys the comfort of a hooker. Like, give me a break. Give me a break. You know what I mean? I just think that it will eventually kick in. And I just think right now, it's the only things that he's winning on are the things that he rigged. The Supreme Court was rigged. If Ruth Bader Ginsburg had not died, that would have not happened the other day. Nor Roe v. Wade would have been overturned as well. This is all the result of his rigging things. This is just like a hostile takeover by the mob.
Well, and honestly, he lucked out, walked backwards into a situation that Mitch McConnell created, which was the only reason he got 3 appointees in 4 years is because Mitch McConnell gave him that layup.
Exactly.
By violating every tradition we have.
And then there's that clown, Clarence Thomas, that's been around forever. And then that other wacky woman that's on there now, the wacky white lady.
Yeah, Coney Barrett.
Yeah, Barrett. And then like Kavanaugh, who's just like a frat boy who shouldn't be on there. That's a joke too. There's like 3 people right there that are jokes. And I'm comfortable saying that in any forum. And I would challenge any of them to a debate. I'd be happy to talk to them or interview them. But they don't have the courage. They're cowards. It's just like I make documentaries. Those people aren't going to do interviews. Those people aren't going to talk about it. The people that are in the show, no. They don't want you to know the truth. They want to continue to play this game. So you have to figure out a way to smoke them out, essentially. I mean, if I could strap a hidden camera on somebody and send them into their world, I would, without a doubt.
Do you think Clarence Thomas believes everything, or he just enjoys all the advantages?
He's a coward.
That come along with that.
He's a coward. He's a turn. Yeah, I mean, it's someone like I have friends that I've grown up with who they're Jewish and they don't want anybody to know, and they don't want to talk about it, and they're just sort of hiding and they're passing and they're doing all this other stuff, and they live with a deep sense of guilt, but they're willing to live with it, and that's who Clarence Thomas is. Clarence Thomas doesn't like black people. Clarence Thomas likes money. Clarence Thomas likes attention. Clarence Thomas is one of the most...
power.
Likes power. He's one of the most insecure people I've ever seen in my life. Clarence Thomas is from Georgia. Humble beginnings. But somewhere along the line, he got corrupted. And that's the part that's really sad. And he's been pathetic for a long time, since we were kids. What he did to Anita. He's been a loon for a really long time. And his choice of spouse speaks to that. She's a clown. What white woman marries a black man and actually is a racist? That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And he is a self-loathing black man. And a lot of these people are. Tim Scott is. Candace Owens is. That weird dude, Robinson, whatever the hell his name is, in North Carolina, he is too. There's a lot of those people walking around now, and they get a lot of media play. If I decided I wanted to be a self-loathing black person tomorrow, I'd be on TV. I'd be popular. I'd be famous like that. There's like 3 black people in America that are idiots, and they're all on TV. That's what this media hype does to people now.
As your college roommate and he had been a big Tulsi Gabbard fan. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, now he's sharing like how badly it went. I'm like, he was saying like reasons why she took the turn she did. I'm like, I think she realized that as a non-white woman, it was just really profitable to go the way she did, to go MAGA, to go far right.
For what?
Money.
Yeah, but
security. I don't know.
All the money in the world. The kingdom is yours. Then what?
Yeah. Then what? Exactly.
Then what? And that's the part or the piece that they're missing. And they may never get it, but they're never going to get anywhere. I don't know anybody in the history of America that's black that's gone and shoved their head up the asses of conservative people and come out on top. I don't know anybody. None. I can't think of anybody. I don't know anybody super conservative that's black that has turned their backs on their own race and really made it in life. Clarence goes down in history as an a-hole. The minute he dies, he's done and forgotten about. Tim Scott looks like a moron, a clown. He looks like a Muppet. Nobody cares. Candace looks like she needs to be medicated. That's being realistic about these things. They're nobodies. You take away all this grandstanding that they do for the conservative party. They're average. They're just average people. They're dorks. And people have given them, the spotlight because they're willing to sell out.
I don't disagree, but part of me also worries and or is aware if I just said what you said, you might be saying what I'm about to say, which is it depends who's writing that history. Like there's going to be when Clarence Thomas passes, Fox News is going to herald him as having one of the greatest lives in history, and a third of the country will believe he had one of the greatest lives in history.
No, the third of the country is going to believe that this is the way that black people should be.
Side be? How cruel will the other side be? Or will we just say, like, will we not shit on him enough?
He will be the biggest punchline forever. He won't even be cold in the ground, and we will be pissing on his grave. And not even because of the stuff that's happened now, but the stuff that happened when we were growing up. Anita.
Yeah.
He's got a laundry list of stuff.
Well, I would love. I hope that's absolutely true, because I would love for history to be told through the lens of truth.
And I think that we have a really good shot at that now because, again, of the media and because, again, of things that you do with your film festivals, and you get somebody's film up there that was funded in Iceland about a black guy. That's insane. If that's what it takes to get the truth out there, the fact that you recognize that, and then you want to stand in front of a room full of black, this is the audaciousness of you. This is the part about you that I like, that only you has the nut to stand in a room full of black people and point out to them who funded this. Because they didn't know, they didn't think about it, they probably missed it in the credits, and you went out of your way to say, these black people need to know the truth. And you told them, because you're obsessed with the truth. And that was an example of why the truth is important, and it does get out there. That impacted a lot of people in that room. I wish I was there to make a documentary and interviewed all those people coming out of there and say, did you know that this was part of Iceland? And they'd have been like, no, oh my God. And then it's just like you have this weird magnetism or gravitational pull with black people that for me as a black person is a little bit uncomfortable at times because I'm sitting there next to you. But I know when I sit next to you, here it comes. And they're like, oh, look, everybody, it's Jeff Bezos here tonight to be able to. And everybody just, they marvel in that. And they come away thinking you're a good guy. And they haven't met you. They haven't talked to you. They didn't think about you as anything other than someone that was really interesting and seemed like someone who was on their side and in their minds just so happens to look like Jeff Bezos. But I tell them I'm Tay Diggs all the time and they never believe me. But somehow you get to be Jeff Bezos.
This might be too navel-gazing, but I'm going to ask your opinion on something.
Sure.
I always had a theory.
Yes.
That I've noticed what you're talking about. And I've always had a theory that
black people
the
like
reason...
Black people like
Black people like me.
They like you.
In my whole life.
I believe it.
And I always wondered if it's because I was bused, so I was one of only 3 white kids in my 5th and 6th grade classes, and I make eye contact.
You do the
and
thing
most
that
white people avoid. Most white people avoid the gaze of black people, right?
They look past me in the streets.
Like they'll be like that, right?
All the time.
Whereas I make eye contact with everybody, and we do the dude nod a lot.
Yep, exactly. And people are like, oh, and then they go, is he white? I don't know. Maybe not.
I'm ethically vague.
Yeah, exactly. So there's all of these things that are factored into it that make it a very positive experience for black people.
Because it's nice to have people who don't give you the side eye.
Exactly. And you're sensitive to that.
Yeah. And I've witnessed the side eye a lot of my life, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see how my friends are treated.
So you're making an impact in the African American community, and sometimes they're not aware of it, and you're helping to be this sort of, compensatory opportunity for blacks as Clarence and Candace and Tim go the other way. You help to balance the scales, And I would argue you're more important than they are. And, at the end of the day, if I got to pick, I'm picking you over Clarence.
A lot more people. Well, it takes a
village.
It takes, it takes an army of whatever. We need more good people.
We do.
I feel like I really won't accomplish much to make any change, but
you
at least in this little world,
we're your friends. You've been extraordinarily generous and kind to me, and this is episode 6, I believe, or something like that.
I nicknamed it Frederick's Sixth Symphony.
Look
For
at
some
you.
reason,
That's
Sixth Symphony sounded good to me. Doesn't it?
does.
For some reason, Fifth. It could have been the
You
Fifth Symphony, but
Beethoven has that locked down.
He
You
does.
can't do that. No,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
But yes, I will accept that as an answer. That sounds amazing. But that's my point. That's my point. And you know something? You know who likes these talks a lot? Black people.
You texted me that, yeah.
They like them. They like it. They think this is really, really cool. You know? You know the only people that give me a hard time about these talks? Old Jewish women. It's too long. I fell asleep while I was listening to it. You guys need to cut it down. Just cut it down. Make it shorter. It would be very more interesting if it was shorter.
Well, they're not wrong. We like to
They're not
ramble.
wrong. Jewish women are never wrong, especially older Jewish women. They just don't like. They don't have a lot of good bedside manner.
You know, they're often wrong.
They're rough around the edges. You know, but yeah, I mean, there's a point to that.
And you know they can't cook. No, what anyway.
Don't get me hurt.
That's a bad joke. But you know,
I'm gonna get emails. You know that, right? I'm gonna get.
We can
emails.
edit that one out.
No, you should leave it in because I want to get the emails and I want to forward them to you.
that boy should not criticize his mother's cooking.
Exactly. It's like,
as my mother would tell you, she didn't cook. She heated things up.
that's funny.
There is a difference.
That's funny.
Those are actually my words, but it's true. She heated things up.
Heated things up. That's kind of Trump. He just he just heats things up. He's a
he doesn't cook. He doesn't create anything.
He doesn't create anything.
He whips out the Stouffer's, and he adds a lot of ketchup.
What were those Hungry Man meals? It's
that was
food.
so manly.
There's food inside of plastic. This is so disgusting. In tin foil, and then you put that in the oven. And the amount of whatever is emitted from metal, and after it's sat in plastic, inside of paper, in a freezer, and you consume that. And then 20 years later, someone says, we found a polyp. You know, like...
You know, to my parents' deficit, I never got me a TV dinner in my life.
That wasn't a thing. They're disgusting. And that's why they're not around anymore. And the amount of poison that they have fed us in this society. And this is not the greatest country in the world. We have one of the worst food supplies in the world. We have people that live out of convenience stores in this country.
You know, the number of things, the food items that are illegal in the European Union and legal here, it's kind of an embarrassing
It's
list.
embarrassment. Dude, I go to Europe and then I eat and I feel great. I come back to America and I feel bloated and terrible and sick.
I have exciting news, though. That tree right outside that window,
yes,
I planted 3 years ago. I have an avocado on it now.
Look at you.
I'm going to
survive the apocalypse.
I'm going to have breakfast someday with an avocado I grew myself from a plant I planted in the ground. Call me a farmer.
I will. I will call you a farmer now.
But, yeah.
You live up on the hill.
It doesn't matter. The food supply is...
kaput.
You know, the zombies will all be down there. And
they won't come up here.
No, we'll fence it off. And
yeah.
We have a natural spring down the road.
There you go. You're set.
Not like I'm going to drink out of the gutter, but I might have to. Who knows?
Yeah.
When the world ends.
Which apparently is in 4 months.
It's so... Like, he won't accomplish anything again, right?
Trump?
Yeah, like he'll...
No, he won't. This is it.
It still won't happen.
This is
it still
the
won't
last
happen.
roundup.
He'll just spin his wheels again, and no wall will get built. No one will get deported. No one will be rounded up.
It'll just be a clown show, and then it'll be all these different legislative things will pass, and they'll start punching holes in the ground, and then they'll try to build the wall, and then they're going to try to like redistrict and rezone for voting and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and then
they'll
people are going to protest
solar incentives.
Exactly.
They'll do this. They'll hurt our economy.
What if a bunch of football players like start taking knees? Like, where's their satiation point with this as well, where, when black people start pushing back, they're going to push back. They're going to push back hard. And then everybody else that believes in what they believe in is going to fall in line as well. Like, they won't abandon black people, And like I said, we're always like one dead black person away from a riot.
Yeah.
We literally are.
Yeah.
And
as long as it's caught on video.
Absolutely.
If it's not caught on video, I guess it doesn't happen. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, I know.
You hear the story of a woman who shot at home for no reason, but if you don't have the video running, people stay home. Is that true?
True. People are afraid to leave their
We're
homes.
fucking visuals. I guess we are visual.
Oh, completely.
We used to be story oriented. We used to sit around a campfire and tell the story.
That's over.
Now we need video. We need pictures.
We need pictures.
Son of a
News
gun.
at 11. That was the deal when our parents were coming along. News at 11. And people waited for the 11 o'clock news.
My probably a bad habit, but no. Every night the news was on during dinner.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Local
I
news.
I remember the Good Morning America being on with David Hartman when I was a kid. Right before we get ready for school, she used to turn my mother used to turn the TV around to face into the breakfast table from the family room, and we watched TV. And I remember when we got our first color television set as well, and that was a wow.
It was really cool.
It was really cool.
Dial.
That dial. Someone's got to get up and go turn that channel from NBC to ABC, and then let's see what's on CBS, and then let's watch All in the Family.
We were
and then
Today Show. We were Today
yeah.
Show household on NBC.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We were ABC. That's interesting. My mother liked Rona Barrett because she did like little Hollywood talks and stuff like that.
I just remember Jane Pauley.
Jane Pauley was on NBC.
Yeah, she was on Today's Show.
She was cute.
I forget the guy.
Oh,
she was cute. Very pretty.
Jane Pauley was hot. It was like all about some Jane Pauley. Brokaw wasn't on in the morning. Gumbel was on in the morning.
Gumbel was there. Brokaw was there earlier, I think.
I think he was there early.
He might have been there when I was really young.
And I do think that Barbara Walters was on NBC in the morning for a hot minute, too. And then she went over to ABC and started doing 2020 with Hugh Downs.
Why
do I know these things? It's really uncomfortable.
Because it's something you cared about. You cared about the media.
I did care about, too. Max Robinson, World News Tonight. ABC World News Tonight. That was my jam, and he was my guy. And then Peter Jennings
came along.
Yeah, Max Robinson.
I always thought it was interesting that Barbara Walters, I thought maybe the TV executives liked her lisp. Like they liked that she, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like a sexist thing. Like we'll give a woman this prominent spot, but she's going to talk funny.
Interesting, and I'm so sorry she's gone. And like I had said earlier, same age as Martin Luther King. But, she would be an interesting conversation to have had. And I'm sure somebody asked her about it or whatever. We probably need to take a look at an interview or a biography about Barbara Walters.
Hey, she's a total trailblazer.
Who was before? Nobody. I can't think of anybody. She was a total trailblazer without question. So as much as we talk about Edward R. Murrow or Walter Cronkite or Dan Rather, she was too, without a doubt. And there's no Barbara Walters, there's no Katie Couric or a lot of these other individuals that have come. And where
would we be without Katie Couric?
Katie Couric just stole the show, man. Just like she was just cute as a button for the longest time. So good for her. And she's still around. She still does stuff. I mean, I wish that, Netflix would give her own, investigative.
Is she with them still or something?
I don't think so. I don't know what she's doing.
I remember she did some really respectable.
Yeah, I think she does.
I appreciated like her openness about cancer and things.
Yeah.
Because people used to keep that under wraps, and it's like, that shit should be. You should be able to share more about it.
I think so. I would like a lot more senior journalists to make a comeback. We don't have enough of that. We have too many things on Netflix that are all about people murdering people rather than like real journalism.
Yeah. I haven't watched anything on Netflix for a long time.
It's hard to watch anything on Netflix.
Yeah. In fact, the only thing
unless you really enjoy Nigerian and Indian cinema, then there's a lot of stuff to watch.
Really, they're embracing.
Dude, are you kidding me?
Last I saw, they were bringing in Korea and some German stuff.
I haven't seen too much German stuff.
There was that show Dark. Dark was really good, but that was a long time ago.
Then there was like Call My Agent. That was French.
Oh, there was the other French, the Lupin or whatever.
Yeah, isn't The Crown on? Netflix.
Never watched it.
You never watch it. I can't do the British dramas. I don't know why. I feel bad I feel bad.
Deep
I feel
down,
disrespecting.
I cannot. I will never. Well, as much as I mock some things, the concept of a royal family, I think nothing deserves more ridicule than that.
It's kind of douchey.
The concept that by birth, these people have importance. I mean, come on.
I know.
Really?
I know.
Really? You're a democracy now.
Are we?
But no, I mean, England is.
Is it?
Sort of.
Sort
I
of.
don't know.
Kinda.
People vote on stuff.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're very challenged. I say that with love.
I was actually saying to the 16-year-old this morning that when the internet was young, we thought, oh my God, this is amazing. Everyone in the world will be better informed. And I was like, we didn't realize how much easier lies are to spread than truth.
Easily. Exactly.
And
the express ticket to lies.
I don't know how you get it back.
You don't. You learn how to curate it. You learn how to put it into perspective.
So can you have democracy when 2/3 of the populace are misinformed?
I think that ultimately that 2/3 of the populace that are misinformed can be reoriented.
So they can learn.
They can learn. I do believe that people can be
now you're
rehabilitated.
being the optimist.
I am, and I stumbled into it backwards.
I tricked you into being optimistic.
You tricked me into being optimistic.
All I did was ask.
Well, I know, I get it, but that's why you go out and you make these documentaries that are funded by Iceland. I mean, you do it because you believe in something, and you believe that and you're just playing this game of like one person at a time, or one download at a time, or one click through at a time, or one festival curated by Jeff at a time. Like that's where it's at now, as far as getting the message out. And it does get out, and it does profoundly affect people, and they do remember you, and then they do follow you, and then you just have to keep going. And that's the thing that makes it difficult. It's very taxing. It's very stressful, and on top of living in a very stressful world. And so, I have friends that are getting into transcendental meditation and stuff like that. But they're into transcendental meditation, but they're not going out and doing work. They're not going out and like doing things that are changing the world. They're just sort of trying to put themselves into like a positive frame of mind or a meditative state to keep out the demons. But can you be a part of some sort of meditative state and then go fight the demons? And I don't know. Sometimes I think you need to fight, fire with fire.
It feels like that's where we have to go.
Right. Exactly.
We have to fight fire with fire. In fact, that is one of the things I like about Gavin Newsom is that he'll go on Fox News or he'll hit as hard as they do.
Right.
At least that's my perception.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and
I'm like, thank God, because people praised. I had a dear friend say something positive about the Alley Cat line last week. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I wanted to comment and go, at what level do you think calling Trump and saying he had the morals of an alley cat, do you really think that resonated with anyone?
No.
Anywhere?
No.
It made him look out of touch and silly.
So what would you give as a level of advice to people if they were dealing with Donald Trump? What would you do? If you were Biden and you were standing there and you were debating him, what would be your tact?
My fantasy would be to outshout him.
You would go for outshouting.
I would go.
That's interesting.
I would
Wow.
actually deep down
blow to blow.
I would go blow to blow, and I would get as loud as I could.
Wow.
I'd shout. I'd turn around. I don't give a shit.
Right.
And I would be tempted to walk
out in
over.
the center of the ring.
Yeah. I remember when he liked hovering behind Hillary because he thought he could spook her.
Frazier. One of those just like blow for blow for blow for blow.
I would happily say, I would happily admit that it was 80% anger based, but I'm like, you could say I would have half rehearsed statement if that were me about I care too much about this goddamn country to let someone like you say the things you're saying. You're wrong about it. You're wrong. I would just fucking go after him.
Right, and you'd say, I'll come from behind this podium right now and whip your ass right here on national television.
It's just such a fantasy to lay a blow. Yeah.
Oh, I get it. You know,
like I would happily stand chin to chin,
right,
and dare him to make a move because he's a pussy. He's never been in a fight in his life.
Well, here's an interesting story. Ali fought George Foreman, and at the time, Foreman was the big favorite. It was like 8-1, something like that.
Huge favorite. Yeah.
And go back on YouTube and watch the fight. And it's in the opening round for the first bell. Ali's standing in the corner, and when the bell rings for round 1, he comes running at Foreman. He's the 8-1 underdog, and he's running at the guy that's supposed to literally end his career. And then Ali goes on and beats his ass. And Foreman said he lost in that moment because he was like, this guy's going up my ass right out of the gate. So again, I think that is a reasonable tactical way to go. That you just get aggressive and you just outshout him and you just like do the schoolyard takedown.
And no one ever did.
No one ever has. No one.
In 2016, those Republican primaries, everyone thought he would self-destruct.
And everybody waits for the bully to self-destruct. The bully doesn't self-destruct until you fight the bully. You must fight the bully. Because the only other way to go is the opposite, or the B-side of that record is complete ignoring. You just ignore.
He's
and
too
never
dangerous to ignore at this point.
And I just think that one doesn't work, and I think your answer is the correct one. And so I think you have to get aggressive, and you have to challenge him.
I have to use my privilege as someone with white skin to get aggressive.
Yeah, totally. And be fearless.
Because I can.
Right, exactly. And sort of have that sort of, whatever.
And that's
whatever will be mentality.
Biden was 4 years ago, right?
4 years ago, yeah, because it called for it, and that's where we were, and we didn't know what the hell was going on. We thought we were all going to die, But now it's a little bit different, and he's 4 years older, and he's like in his 80s, and it's tough to keep it going.
4 years is so long.
It's so in your 80s. In your 80s, 4 years is an eternity, and I totally get that.
Please.
And like in a reasonable sense, I mean, he should step down, but there's nobody to step up. That's our problem.
You think that's the reason? I think it's baby boomer hubris and thinking he still thinks 4 years ago he was right when he said, I'm the guy who can take. He looked at the field and said, it can't be right. Kamala. I'm the equally old white guy who can take this guy down. And he was right. And he still thinks that way because baby boomers are just naturally narcissistic, and they think they're the most important generation that ever lived, and so they just think he's like I'm just too damn important. I can't afford to step down and let him win. And it's like you're staying in to help him win.
When it's interesting, the greatest generation is the one
before them.
The great generation, right? That was born after World War I, but was there to serve during World War II.
But they literally think they should stay in the presidency in their 80s.
Yeah, I know.
People in their 80s need help wiping their asses.
I know that, but they live in that weird, social media world.
My niece and I talk about the people who live in the retirement place where my mother is. Yeah. And she talks about the old person's smell. I go, this is horrible. You should stop me. It's piss. I say to my niece, you understand, they're pissing themselves.
And it's horrible.
Biden pisses himself at his age. I know he does.
I love it that you know that too. Like, this is awesome.
I've done a lot of elder care, sadly.
And I believe you.
Old person smell is pee.
Sure. But so does Trump.
Oh, Trump pees himself. He's peeing himself
Trump
right now.
Is 4 years younger, 3 years younger, whatever. Like, that's nothing. Whatever. They could have gone to high school together. One was a senior, one was a freshman. Get out of here. He's just as old. He can die in his sleep tomorrow, or have a stroke tomorrow, or fall down the steps tomorrow, or just wake up and stop remembering shit tomorrow.
I might have to believe in a benign creator if that happens.
Something that's for the next episode of this. We drag you into the benign creator.
You'll be like, Jeff, you said you would believe in a good and divine creator if one of those guys, whatever. I don't know. Maybe the person or being that created it all does care.
Something.
I feel like they're a scientist. They just want to see what would happen. Like let's create a billion universes and see how we'll tweak gravity and we'll tweak atomic forces a little. See what happens.
Right. So
how many black holes do we get here?
Right.
How many black holes do we get there? How many planets? How many beings?
So you believe in extraterrestrials? You believe in life in other places and stuff like that? You do believe in that? You're questioning God, but you believe in other beings.
Well, I was just believing in something that created the universe.
Well, that would be what we can
but
say.
But I do actually think, if you ask me about UFOs,
you do believe
based upon the numbers in astronomy.
Sure.
I find it far too far-fetched that we're the only sentient beings that
would be
evolved on a
ridiculous.
planet.
I
There's
totally
an infinite number of planets that could
But then the amount of technology
life.
that's necessary for that to be true is beyond our wildest imagination, because theoretically we can only think about things up to light speed.
Yeah, and we can never meet another.
We can't do it. Even at light.
Star Wars won't happen.
Yeah, we're never going to get to light speed, so we're never going anywhere.
Yeah, and we'll never meet them because they've either flamed out. Billion, whatever. Yeah, right. We're too far apart. There's too much empty space between us, and the universe is expanding. So, yeah. But I certainly believe that there's people having a discussion like this on their planet that if they transmitted it to us in 20 million years, it would hit where we are in time and space. I love to bore people with talk about time and space.
You do that already.
My most boring. I know.
You do that already.
I bore the shit out of people. But I love pointing out the time machines. Now I'm going to do it. That DeLorean in Back to the Future.
No, you did it. That's where you went with time and space.
In order to be on that street and hit a lightning bolt and then show up on that same street, it didn't just have to move in time. It had to move in space.
It would have to bend time.
Because,
warp time.
But the position of the Earth in our solar system, in our galaxy, we're moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like that DeLorean, if I traveled time 5 minutes back without changing my location in space, I would be on another part of the Earth. Because the Earth is spinning so fast.
It's always moving, yeah.
So I'm just
saying.
But
it's also moving. The sun is moving.
Everything's moving.
Everything's moving. We're moving around a galaxy.
So it's not just time you have to travel. You got to account for where the Earth's moving. And I don't think any supercomputers can do that.
No, but apparently there are other people in other parts of the universe who can.
Oh, maybe. Mm-hmm. Maybe we could get there someday, or maybe the dolphins will. Once we're gone,
the Dolphins will
lead us. The Dolphins.
Maybe the Dolphins should run and replace Biden.
There could be a dolphin that could be so smart. I did watch a video of a dog playing piano today, so there's hope.
I just think a dolphin is more emotionally stable than a dog.
Much more.
I trust a dolphin more than I trust a dog.
I mean, they're pretty smart.
I think so. I am astounded at the level of intelligence of a dolphin.
Remember, I think it was the last book in the Hitchhiker's Guide series was when all the dolphins were the smartest creatures on Earth, and they left on their spaceship before the Earth got destroyed, and their message was, "So long, thanks for all the fish."
Why does that delight you?
It's so funny.
I know. Look at you. You're glowing.
It's so long.
You're glowing. You're actually glowing on radio, on a podcast.
The nihilism. Oh, I don't even know why that's so funny. And I didn't even read the book. I just know the title.
Even better.
Couldn't be bothered to read the book.
I didn't think so.
Didn't read any of it. I don't read anything from the British. You know that, right?
I did not realize that, but that does stay on brand with you as well.
Have I read? I don't know.
No,
I actually
haven't.
don't. I don't.
You
I don't
haven't.
choose.
You read Orwell. You had to.
Oh yeah,
that's British.
That is British. Oh, so is
Here we go. Like you're all going to fall apart now.
What's his name? Time Machine.
H.G. Wells.
H.G. Wells, British.
Right.
All right. I've read a lot of British.
A Separate Peace. What's the one where all the kids kill each other on the island?
Yeah, Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies.
British.
I think that's British too. Yeah,
it was British people.
You've read a bunch of British books.
I mean, people try.
That's the best line. She said, "I don't read British books," and then we name a bunch of books that you read.
So
by British
many
people.
British books. I think was that Shakespeare dude? Was he?
I think so.
He was British.
He
was a writer.
It's like,
I was forced to read that stuff. And actually, it was
I
pretty
don't
good.
read British books. I've never read any British books. I hate British authors. Oh, except for these 15 books that I read.
Or 80% of the books that were
80%
given
of the
to
books
us
that
in
you
school.
ever read, exactly, or they're forced to read. Okay, so that may be your problem, is that you were forced to read.
Is the
a bunch
King
of British
James
books.
Bible a British book?
Good question. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go out on a limb for 500,
yeah.
Alex, and say yes, it is.
It was
King
retranslated
James-
for British king. Yeah.
I would think so. Yeah.
And he asked for all kinds of changes, I hear. He said, give me a...
You
he
realize
had
that,
Final Cut.
Yes, I get Final Cut. Well, you realize King James is running the Lakers now, right?
Oh.
King James is running the Lakers.
I love that you... God, I wish I could believe
They're going to win the
Lakers.
West.
Damn.
And I think they're going to run away with it. It's going to be weird. As long as they don't get hurt or injured. And I don't think that they will.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
They managed this
I'm
year.
only concerned about Bronny's cardiovascular issues. It does worry
That
me.
was
It worries
frightening.
me. It's frightening. I know one
And
thing.
how could that not affect his dad?
If you had a heart attack after playing basketball, would you play basketball again? No.
I really wouldn't.
No.
I really wouldn't.
I wouldn't take that chance. So I guess doctors assured them that this is going to be okay. But, the tragic moment for me is in real time. His child, is in his arms right there on the court. I mean,
No, that's going to be...
I don't wish that on anybody, and I don't want that to happen. But cardiovascular issues are extremely, extremely serious matters as well. And traditionally, a lot of people have gotten quite ill playing, cardiovascular sports and stuff like that. So I don't. And he's already a millionaire. He's a rich kid. He's a rich kid. He's not a poor black kid from the ghetto. He's an insanely privileged rich kid that lives in Bel Air. I would pivot. And I would rule Hollywood. I would become a producer.
It is fascinating,
and I would
right?
fund Discover Indie.
He must really... Oh, that would... I gotta
Imagine
befriend
that,
him.
like Bronny James is your boss.
He'd be the best boss I could imagine. Any boss, I don't care. Anybody. But I'm only going to work part-time, by the way.
I love that, too. And then you start taking time off.
I'll work for you, but 15, 20 hours a week. That's all I can do.
That would be awesome. And then you'd want to make in excess of 7 figures.
Of all the weird coincidences, I almost could have had an in when he was going to Sierra Canyon. Because my friend Sujay in Vancouver, who I'm seeing in 2 days, his mom was a teacher at Sierra Canyon the first 5 years of his existence when it was like a 6 schoolroom little thing, like a tiny little thing. She was there from the beginning with the two guys who founded the school. If she had only stayed there, I don't know what, but, Bronny would have known Leela Metha and, been tight.
You
could have been tight with the Jameses. I could have been the tennis coach at Sierra Canyon.
You should go get in that DeLorean and just go back in time. You should go get in that DeLorean.
Of the list of things I should change if I went back in time,
it's always get back in the DeLorean.
I'm not sure being a teacher at Sierra Canyon would be the right move for me, but maybe it would be.
You'd have to get back in the DeLorean and find out.
Like you, I really very seriously considered teaching when I was still in school. I thought I was just going to be a high school math teacher.
Right.
Just wanted to.
Look at you now, though. Yeah. On the precipice of greatness.
People. On the precipice. Holy crap!
What is the?
We're at 2 hours.
That's holy crap! 2 hours and 3 minutes.
We've never gone that long before.
Jewish women everywhere.
They are so
most
mad.
of them from Long Island. They're upset.
Would they be happy if we split it up into four half hours? Would that appease them? If Calvin, hey Calvin, how you doing, Calvin? Calvin, who does the post-production on this now.
I mean, it's Calvin's call, but I enjoy our marathons.
It's your call. It's your call.
It's my call. I like these
You're
marathons.
the honored guest.
Yeah, I think ultimately, going back and re-listening to some of these things and finding the best of, Calvin should make a best of.
Ooh.
Like a greatest hits.
I'd have to pay him extra. Hey, Calvin, you want a little extra?
Calvin will take it. Times are hard.
Best of.
It's probably hilarious too.
There could be a couple best ofs. There could be the most insightful half hour.
Oh yeah,
or the funniest.
Right, exactly. You've got themes here.
But the thing is, we both slip our humor into context, so they wouldn't be funny pulled out. That's my thought. You don't think so?
Yeah, I think so too. Like I think it is a better as an entire
blasphemy
smorgasbord. Yeah, a blasphemy reel. Yes,
That's just me.
that is just you.
You're not the blasphemer.
No, it's you.
But
How
I
ironic.
appreciate you not shunning my blasphemy.
No, I enjoy watching you burn. You know.
No, I know. It is. I don't know though. I just saw a meme the other day from a Mormon ex-niece or former niece that post-debate, and it basically it was a Trump thing, and it was like it just named every scoundrel from the Bible. David, King David cheated on his wife. Moses was a liar. Blah, 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 all of Trump's shortcomings make him biblical and godlike.
Was Judas on it?
No.
Odd, don't you think?
He was a Jewish boy. Well, I got my toenails done. There you go.
I'm glad. Wow.
I'm wearing the
Look at that.
flip-flops.
And then you had them done by your...
The stepdaughter.
I know.
paints
That's
them.
what I was getting ready to say. So
But she used cheap nail polish. It stuck to my socks.
I love it that
after
you're
a
complaining.
day.
That's great. Awesome. You know that you, as a man, can't complain about cheap toenail polish. That's kind of weird.
I can. I'm an American. I can complain about anything.
I want you to do that while you're standing in line at the grocery store to the guy in front of you. And you can complain about how your toenail polish is sticking to your socks.
It's stuck badly. I do have did I tell you the funny story? Because sometimes you joke about my flip-flops. I was wearing flip-flops at Home Depot.
It's not always a joke, Jeff.
I understand. I'm standing in Home Depot in Van Nuys, California, which is, and a much older Latin American guy walks up to me and just goes, in his hands, he goes, "How old is she?" I didn't know what it is. And then he points at my feet. He goes, "I let my granddaughter paint my toenails." I'm like, "Oh, this is my stepdaughter." We had a nice little bonding moment over being the kind of dudes who let a cute kid paint our toenails.
You realize that you shouldn't make a habit of sharing that story in that way.
Yeah, how should I change it? Should I not do the accent?
Oh my God, there's so many
things
that
were
are
wrong.
problematic about that.
Damn, and for me, it was a bonding moment with someone.
With someone for you in a real world moment that doesn't translate over to the digital format that you are expressing yourself in.
So good. Let me know the critique. What's the better way to tell the story? Or I should just kill the story.
I think the better way to tell the story is that you just say that I ran into another gentleman in the store.
Another gentleman, so I shouldn't. Okay.
Because just a gentleman in a store, and don't name the store either, because now you're indicting a whole nother corporation too. And you should leave out the part about what's her name as well, because two men shouldn't say things like "what's her name" in public like that, because then you're like, what are you talking about?
Oh, okay.
It sounded a little bit like human trafficking.
Really?
A touch. Just
shoot.
the scotch.
Now that you say that, I think he might have said, "How old is she?"
How old is she? That's what he said. How old is she?
Oh,
right. How old
is
is she? It sounds even more like human trafficking.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
And then you just should have said, "Oh, a gentleman came up to me one day in the store because
someone
I
who's
like
a
to paint my
grandfather, right? A grandfather came up, and yeah.
Make it wholesome. Make it wholesome. It's got to be good for the flyover states in the South.
You think they'd
it's got to
like
be? It's got to be for the Christian underserved community. They have to be able to.
Yes.
They have to approve of it.
No one makes any entertainment for them.
They are though. It's coming. Seriously,
I thought it was everything. I thought everything was made for them.
Roadshows is one of the companies that's talking about it too. They consider them to be underserved. They want to make stuff for them.
Roadshow Pictures, the
big one,
the big brand,
the big brand.
They're saying they're going to aim to the middle of the country more.
Yeah, exactly. They're interested in that.
No more of this
I think they're going to fail miserably. They're going to get their ass handed to them.
We got too sucked into.
It's too limited. It's like, what are you going to do for story? Like, and no one else cares. And, there's not enough people there to sustain it, or you're just going to make really, really teeny tiny small films that are just more boring. These so-called family-friendly disguised as Christian films about Christianity and subservient people of color and women that know their place and Jewish people that don't talk about being Jewish and, immigrants that make their beds and mow their lawns and all that other fun stuff that they like, that makes them feel good about their ideas about what America is really all about. So, there more power to them. It might be a good lane for them or whatever. I get it. I do find that world to be fascinating, but only as a super collider into the rest of the world. Now, do I want to get a Christian guy and a Jewish guy and a black guy in an elevator and the elevator break down in between floors? Yeah, that's interesting. But outside of that, no.
Yeah, but how do we finish the joke? Like, yeah, that was another thing that I happen to be playing. How I'll confess to the bouginess of being a tennis player, and I was standing on the tennis court, and
were you in your
we were about to
flip-flops?
play. No, I actually don't play in flip-flops.
I love the idea.
I know that would be dangerous, but it happened that one guy was Muslim, one guy was Chinese, one guy was Hindu, and then I was the Jew. I gave myself credit for being Jew, and we're like, chatting right before we were about to play, and I said, "Oh, you hear the one about the Muslim, the Hindu, the guy from China, and the Jew who walked onto the tennis court?" And the Muslim guy particularly to me goes, "No, what? How does the joke end?" And I went, "I haven't written it yet. I just was like looking at us, and I realized we are the setup of like an old fashioned comedian's joke."
And then no one blew out an Achilles or an ACL.
No,
or
we were all fine.
Wow.
We were oddly enough. I don't know how it worked out. It's because we're in Los Angeles, which has
a lot
borders.
Of those people.
It has We certainly have borders between neighborhoods, but they're not hard borders like other cities have.
Yeah.
So it happens that I guess someone would look at the picture of my tennis team and say, "Oh, it looks like United Colors of Benetton." I'd be like, "Hey, I guess so."
Or a bunch of ringers on the tennis team.
Bunch of ringers. I'm the ringer.
There you go.
But, all right. Guys, see, my stories have gotten a lot less interesting since I noticed we went over 2 hours. Notice the degradation of my quality.
Exactly, and you're referring to yourself as a ringer and all kinds of stuff like that. And
no, that's just because I'm on this tennis team that I play for the level up.
Right.
But then I got my guys I don't want to turn my back on, so I play with them too.
Your toenails, old Latin men you meet in Home Depot.
Calvin, we're backing up to 2 minutes, 3 seconds.
How old is she?
We're ending it at 2:03.
Just flames coming off of you.
How old is she?
Get back in the DeLorean. That's your logo. You're on fire, and you're climbing into the DeLorean.
I know. I'm gonna go back and not set myself on fire.
Exactly.
I am. I'll end this thing. I'll end this thing before I screw up. That's my right.
I'll screw up and then I'll end this thing.
I'll screw up. Let me tell one more terrible joke. No. I don't even... After I stop recording, I'll tell you my worst joke.
I know, you have to tell it off air.
Has to be off air.
Don't put this
has to be off air.
Because you can't get it back.
Has to be.
You can't get it back. So
No. I would never tell this one.
You've done enough damage.
I would never tell this one to anyone.
You totally should.
While it's being recorded.
Yeah, you can't do that. Say something mean about Trump and then end the broadcast. You said you would punch him out in a debate. You would immediately attack him.
I actually do think it would be worth it. I actually think it would be worth going to jail if I could just get that punch right in the throat and make the larynx collapse and he'd choke to death. Like that. I think I just confessed to a crime, though. Is it illegal? Well, he's not president.
He's not president.
So I'm just talking about assaulting a citizen.
Misdemeanor.
Nice. Well, if he dies, I'll go to jail. But I think it'd be worth it.
Involuntary manslaughter. And you don't have a record.
But it's just recorded that it's premeditated.
It could be AI. Who knows? No one knows.
Calvin, we're cutting this shit out. This comes right out, Calvin.
Calvin's going to take it and put it on the internet and, make a lot of money with it.
Thankfully, blackmailing me won't get you too far.
I know. What do you got? None
of this is mine.
None of this is yours, except the toenails. The painted toes are yours. That apparently
the nails below the paint. But I can't even afford the nail polish. I'm in the arts.
You and your cheap toenail polish.
Oh, it's so cheap. So
you really should upgrade. You should go to the shop and get the toenail polish and get expensive toenail polish.
Look, the kid didn't even give me a top coat this time. If I had a clear coat on top, it probably would have been fine. See? Labor. And here I drove her to her best friends this morning.
Cheap child labor. How old is she?
Well, now she's 16. But back then she's a minor. I think she was 12 back then. She was 12.
Again, things you should never say.
But we're talking about kids.
Oh, my God. Your Honor. But we're talking about kids, Your Honor. That's great. You in an orange jumpsuit. Get him out of here.
She was playing a song in the car today called Age is Just a Number. Do you know it? From
how about 05? She's a minor?
And I said to her, what year was this song? Because this is a little dicey. And you know what the kid tried to argue? She tried to argue, well, maybe he's talking to a woman much older than him and trying to convince.
That's awesome.
And I said, you are stretching. And I said, what year was the song and how old was the guy singing it? And it was 2005, and he was 21 at the time. And the lyric is something like, I forget what the lyric, but no, age is just a number. That does not hold up. He's talking about dating a girl who's too young. She wouldn't agree with me. She's stubborn.
These kids, I'll tell you.
These kids. Yeah, try to teach them.
They don't listen.
They really don't.
No, they really don't. They have no reason, no just cause to listen.
Oh, I had one. But you can have minor victories in parenting and step-parenting if you just plant seeds and walk away. So I told her how much respect I think she'd get from her parents if she tried to get a job this summer at the mall, because her dad's house is very close to a mall.
Right.
Didn't do a thing. Weeks went by. I think even a month or two went by. And then last weekend, she went to the mall and got 30, 40 job applications and filled them out. And I'm like, way to go.
Yep, she did it on her time.
And if I'd nagged her about it, she would have never done it. She's got to say it once, walk away, and then let them decide it's their idea.
It sounds like a development exec.
So I'm going to send Trump a tweet that says, I think maybe you should not run for president. Maybe.
Paint your toes.
And then
Donald.
Yeah. How old is she, Donald?
How old? There you go.
Go to the Miss Teen USA pageant and get your toes done.
See?
Is that why he bought the pageant, to get his toes done?
Maybe. If that's what we want to call it as a euphemism.
Isn't that the creepiest thing? Of all the creepiness, isn't owning the team Miss Teen USA, that was the creepiest.
It's time for us to go.
Yeah, okay.
This is good. Yeah.
You have a good moral compass.
Yeah.
All right, you want to talk about the film that was just at Dances with Films?
I do.
It was a script. You were there for a script, yes?
No, I was. The script was for the Beverly Hills Film Festival, which was a couple months ago, and then this time for a different film festival, which is the Dances with Films Film Festival. It was for a film called The Third Country, which is a documentary about the immigration of the Burmese people from Myanmar to Atlanta, which is a city in the South, but there's this other smaller city that's adjacent to Atlanta that's called Clarkston, Georgia. And that's where they had immigrated to, and they are trying to start a new life and save their families, to be perfectly honest. And it's a generational film about the kids, the parents, and the grandparents as well, trying to make it in America and flee genocide and oppression in Myanmar and Burma. And if you want to get a lot of details about what goes on there, the BBC covers it quite a bit as well. So it's something that's very serious. I mean, people are going house to house, the government, and they're killing people and things like that. So I think it's important that we, create a opportunity for refugees here in this country that are living under abuse.
Yeah, the Burmese have been suffering for a long time.
Since the end of World War II, as they were assembling the Jewish state, they were tearing apart Burma, and in 1989, they changed it from Burma to Myanmar as well. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's another one of these
I actually went to the border when I was in Thailand.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
We went, I think it's up near Chiang Mai, and you can just go to the border with Burma. And it's every day, laborers walk through customs and walk into Thailand, and they work all day as laborers, and then they go back to Myanmar at the end of the day. And it's like, oh my God.
It's horrible. I mean, it's
the poverty is insane.
Unbelievable. And, and that's why it's called a third country, because they flee Burma, they go to Thailand, they stay in detention camps for like a year or 2, 6 months or whatever. And then from there they come to America, and America is their third country. Hence the film is called The Third Country.
The Third Country. Excellent.
Yeah, so America's the third country. How about that?
Well, I'm glad they showed it. I'm glad you had a good screening. Mm-hmm. I know. A lot of interviews, a lot of good time. It's a good festival. I know it is. I'm not mad. I'm not mad that you take your best work to the other places. Do I look mad? I don't look mad.
You look fine. Just fine.
Look, we had a film
from Iceland funded by Iceland
called Hanky Panky, where a handkerchief and a top hat battled for the survival of Earth. So.
No, that's genius.
They were aliens from other dimensions, hiding out among us as a handkerchief and a top hat. It was borderline ridiculous and pretty funny.
Hey, that is like on brand. That is in your lane. Borderline ridiculous and pretty damn funny.
Yeah.
See?
But we had all the other great films too. Okay. We're going to have a link to all your usual stuff.
Yes, and the links
Congrats on The Third Country.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's going to be on PBS later this year as well. And then we also want to get it on streaming moving into next year. So the extended version of Burma, I would love for it to be a part of your vaunted film festival as well.
Is this
This is a short version. This is the 15-minute short version, but we're going to go with a 30 and then eventually a 60, and the 30 is going to be on PBS. And then ultimately the 60 is going to go to streaming as well.
Excellent.
So it feels good. It feels like it's headed towards something kind of special as well. One of the other films that was a part of your festival, the J Setting, the If Cities Could Dance. I mean, that was an Emmy award-winning piece, and so I think this is going to be another Emmy award-winning piece.
Nice.
As well. So I'm pretty excited about that.
So I have to refer to you as my multiple Emmy award-winning friend.
Emmy award-winning friend. That's right.
There you go.
Yeah.
I got no awards. I gave myself one though. Because we, make the trophies.
Lifetime achievement.
I was just going to say best toenails, but...
You should. You should. But
I could put it on the mantle right there.
Best toenails, but you have to get expensive toenail polish or it's just not worth it.
Oh, yeah.
You look cheap. You look like a hooker.
I look like a dirty pirate hooker.
A dirty pirate hooker.
That's a dodgeball reference, I think. No, what
is that from?
Oh, no, it was Anchorman. That was Anchorman. That was Will Ferrell calling Christina Applegate a dirty pirate hooker.
Oh, really?
I'll quote, I'll name my sources. Yeah. I stole that one.
Good. You should.
All right, people. I will not bother with my closing ramble because I think we've rambled enough. But look at the show notes. You'll see all the Fred stuff. You'll see this podcast and the 2 film festivals and TVHi. So really explore the show notes. Click every link in the show notes, and I'll send you a personal thank you.
That's kind.
I ain't gonna send him $1. Nope.
You can't.
I don't have the dollars.
You don't have any dollars.
I don't have dollars.
You need every dollar you can find.
I'm saving up because I'm moving to Vancouver in November or January.
One of those months.
At least we have 3 months to figure it out.
To figure it out, yeah. So you can go up there and get a lay of the land and then figure out what you're going to do.
Exactly.
And then once the apocalypse hits, you won't be able to fly. You'll have to, bum rides up the coast to get there.
I'm thinking sailboat.
I love that.
No fuel.
I love the idea of you trying to sail up the coast to get to Vancouver. That's like the ultimate Jeff shit show.
That is the ultimate Jeff shit show.
That is.
I've always fantasized about the sailboat because you can move around without fuel.
You sitting there looking at your toes as all the paint's chipping off and stuff like that. It's going to be sad.
Well, I'm not saying I won't bring the kid along to keep painting my toenails.
Exactly.
Actually, I probably, she probably wouldn't want to go.
You'll have to get the dolphin to do it.
Oh, my God.
There you go.
Hyper-intelligent mani-pedi dolphin salon at sea.
Kaboom. Boom. Done.
I just solved all my financial problems.
You're welcome.
Yeah, see, I told you the quality goes down the longer I talk.
That is true. And then I'm resorting to things like, trying to keep the show going by talking about a trained dolphin that does mani-pedis after you talked about a top hat and a handkerchief fighting for intergalactic supremacy.
Hanky Panky. It's on Tubi right now. Watch it, I dare you. And by the way, you might want to not be sober when you watch it. That's all I got to say. All right.
This is a misuse of intelligence.
This is, I highly recommend you watch Fred's film and the other great, Try to Find King of the Butterflies Around. That's the one funded by the wonderful nation of Iceland. About a local Angelino of my generation. So anyway, yeah. And fine. Show notes.
That's all in there.
Good shit on the show notes.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You got it.